The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Hi, everybody. Gary has been kidnapped by ISIS this week. Oh, but he's still here to do the stream. Welcome to the Real BBC. I'm your host, as always, Hans from Millarverse. And we'll get the introductions out the way very quickly because for the first hour, we have an hour. We have guests for an hour. We're joined by, I mean, we'll get to it. Trust me, we'll get to it. Mark Millar. Gary, how you doing?
Down with the imperialist Americans. That's all I'm allowed to say right now. Otherwise, I'm totally fine. I'm fine.
Keep blinking.
Keep blinking. Yes.
And somebody who can't blink but can bring 100 tentacles to the table, Cthulhu God, Morley. How you doing, Morla?
Oh, wonderful, my good man. How are you? How are you, Gary? How's everybody? What a wonderful day for a wonderful podcast.
It is.
Which
very
is
special guest.
Nice. Yeah. So with those over, we can chat. We've just proven to you we can do intros in seconds.
Yes.
We just
simply choose not to.
Yeah, we just choose not to. But we've got for the first hour of the Real BBC today, Mark Millar. And how do you introduce Mark Millar? Because your imprint on the comics world and definitely ventured balls deep into the film world now because of the stuff that you've done is just all over modern day culture, right? Civil War, Old Man Logan, Kick-Ass, Wanted, The Authority, what I watched the other night, Kingsman, because I saw Gary watching it, so I thought I do love that first Kingsman, I gotta say. So I did, and more and more Reborn, and then Jupiter Ascending, which is on Netflix. Which
whoa. Not Jupiter's Legacy. Jupiter's Ascending.
Sorry,
terrible film. That's not me.
Yeah. Jupiter's Legacy. My bad. I tried.
Jupiter Ascending was that furry movie with
Channing Tatum, right?
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, by the Wachowskis. I saw that.
It was Mark Millar.
Yeah.
You know, there's some movies that seem like movies that you see in posters in the background of TV shows. You know, like in Seinfeld, you would always see fake movie posters. Jupiter Ascending was one of them, wasn't it? It just felt like a fake movie.
Yeah.
And yet,
that's like a really good way to summarize it. Yeah.
Maybe we're living in the fake world. That's why everything seems so bizarre nowadays, because we're actually living in the fake world, and there's a real one out there. And they're looking at us and laughing.
Maybe those are forgotten.
I'm here to blackmail you.
Yes,
but it's great to have you on the show, Mark. Thanks for coming on. No, it's cool. We've got just a beautiful little story. We've only got Mark for an hour because he's gonna go and watch with his kids and his kids' friends Mission Impossible 6, not 7, 6 Fallout. So he's got to go off and do that with it. So I think that's a great little story to even start.
Well, it's kind of weird because, you know, everybody else is talking about Mission Impossible 7, but for us, the Millar family, it's Mission Impossible 6 tonight. My plan was for all the kids, like I try and educate the kids in good film because there's so many bad films out there, you know, so I try and show the kids all the great movies from the last 100 years. So I said, look, in the lead up to Mission Impossible 7 coming out, which I couldn't wait for, we're going to watch all the Mission Impossibles. And then I went to the pub one night and I blew the whole thing, right? So I threw the plan off. So they saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And now we're going to watch 6. Yes.
So you still threw in number 2, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Two I kind of love, like I know it's derised, like people don't like it really, but like I think it's like a 1990s Image comic, isn't it? Like it feels like it's been done by the Image guys. I really like it. It's kind of daft, but it's fun.
Well, it does feel like a comic because half the time nobody's fucking moving,
Right.
because it's in this
an hour out of it.
slow motion. It just feels like they've stopped.
Shave an hour, and then you got a great movie.
But I tried to do that. I tried to watch all the Mission Impossibles again before 7, just to refresh everything, because it'd been such a while. I'd like totally forgotten the connection to Rogue Nation and Fallout. It was just like, whoa, yeah, dude, the dude's back in it again. But I managed to get up to Rogue Nation before 7 came out, so I got up to the 5, then watched 7. But last night I watched 6. Or am I lying? And I was actually watching Jupiter Ascending.
I think the way to watch
Favorite
these
movie.
films is the way we've done it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6.
Yeah,
Perfect.
perfect. Makes perfect sense considering.
You know what though? I've really appreciated the films in a way that maybe I didn't before. I was really liked the films, But see, watching one a night, what I love is how different they all are from each other. And the only consistent thing, obviously, is Tom Cruise. He's always on the run. It's the same sort of thing.
He's always running.
Always on a run, always on a bike.
But I love the fact that 3 is so different from 2, and number one feels like a movie from another era now. It's like a Hitchcock thriller or something.
Yeah.
And 4 has got some of my favorite stuff. I really love Mission Impossible 4. I think it's a brilliant film. Really underrated.
Ghost Protocol is, I think that's the film that has launched this continuing era of Mission Impossible, because they were like, the first one came out in 96. It felt like a film noir. It could have been in black and white. Number 2 feels like it was filmed in a different universe.
Yeah.
Number 3, Philip Seymour Hoffman comes in and is just this real nasty bastard.
A universe where
best villain in the whole series. I love it.
Yeah, and then Ghost Protocol was I would say it kind of felt, I would say, again, I hate to say this, kind of felt a bit more mainstream, sort of for everyone, but it worked really well, because I think the vision that sort of had these first 3 films, and then we're like, I think we've got it nailed now. I think we know what we want to do with this franchise, and I've enjoyed the Mission Impossible films way more than the recent Bond films. So.
By a mile, yeah, my God, yeah. But like, it's funny, my kids, I've got 3 daughters, and my middle daughter is 11, and she had a little crush on Tom Cruise in the first film. She was like, what other films has this guy done? She hadn't seen any of his movies. She was like, he's great, he's my new favorite actor. And then within a week, she sees him as a 62-year-old man. She's, oh my God, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
That's what happened to your dad.
Yeah.
You tell him, I was young and pretty too, running around fighting.
The series, though, for Mission Impossible, it is kind of amazing if you'd never seen any before, to tell someone the first one is Brian De Palma, second one John Woo, third one J.J. Abrams, fourth one Brad Bird. How did that happen? Like, I don't know.
I love it. The idea that every film reinvents itself. I mean, that's what made Bond last, I think, as well. The reinvention, the fact they bring in new guys playing Bonds, different directors. Like, you keep it fresh. I get really bored when I see the same people doing something for 15 years. The same vibe in all those Bond movies. Like, I was, by the third one, I was really tired of that era of Bond.
Yeah.
Ready for something there.
I think one of the reasons why with the Mission Impossible franchise, by the way, Mark, we'll talk about something you've done in a bit. Was the fact that the films are so spread apart. Like, the first one's 96, the second one is 2000, so there's 4 years between those, and then the third one's like 2006. So there's like 5 or 6 years between the third one. Then so there's these pretty big gaps in time with the first 4, particularly. And then we get onto a 3-year rotation, which is what films tended to be on back in the day if they were serializing them, like Star Wars, Raiders. They kind of went on a 3-year rotation. Nowadays, I think the rotation is too quick.
It's too
Even
quick.
2 years is too quick. Yeah, it's just get it out. But you see with these Mission Impossibles, I mean, I've seen the 7th one twice now. I saw it again yesterday. I saw it when it came out the previous Monday in the UK. And I think they're so well thought out. You can just see the sort of creative process which has gone into this. And so when it does arrive on the screen, because I don't think there's no fat, I don't think, in 7.
Yeah, you're right.
It's such a lean film, and it's 2 hours 45 minutes, but it paces itself so well. Good set piece. Then you just bring it down a little bit, but not much, just a little bit. Then you go into your next major set piece. I think they're perfectly balanced. So yeah.
What I loved as well was the first time I've been in a cinema in a long time. I can't think how often. And I go every week. I go and see the least bad movie every week. And it's the first time I've been in a cinema where it's been a full house in ages. And it was shoulder to shoulder. People were really squeezed in beside each other. And it was in the IMAX, which is a little bit more expensive. So I really think, I know that people say it underperformed this weekend. It's maybe 10 million less than they expected. I think it's going to have real legs because all my normie friends who loved Maverick last year are buzzing about this in the same way. It has that same vibe, where they're like, people are loving the fact Tom Cruise can't fly and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's nice to kind of have a thriller. A thriller back in the theaters, and like I saw it last Monday on release day because it came out last Monday in the UK, and I saw it again yesterday, which was again a Monday. There was more people, and I went to like the 11:45 in the morning showing at the showcase in Leeds on the X Plus cinema, the nice one, and there were more people yesterday. In the Monday at 11:45 in the morning with the kids still at school than it was on the release day the previous Monday.
It's that Jim Cameron thing, isn't it? Where it's old-fashioned word of mouth. You don't need to do a fancy campaign online. People go and see it and they tell 5 pals to go and see it and they tell 5 pals. I think this is going to do great next weekend and really build. I think it's going to be
the international, even though the domestic has been, it's fine. Yeah. It's not terrible. It's not. I think we're all sort of looking for those explosive, oh my God. But it's like, it's fine domestically. Internationally, it's actually doing exceptionally well.
I think the next thing is going to do well. So can I tell you a stupid conversation we had in the car on the way home last night?
That's all we ever have in this show is stupid conversations.
The kids were saying, like, Tom Cruise has those lines in the film where he says, like, my life doesn't matter. I'm just here to make sure you're okay. Which is great.
My life doesn't matter as much as yours. Yeah,
I love heroes like that. That it's just he's going to make sure you're okay. And like, my kids were like, who would you trust to save you most in certain situations, right? So they said Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, or Tom Cruise, right? And they just called Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yes.
All these characters is Tom Cruise. And we had a real conversation about it, and it's like Superman 100% will make sure you're okay. Like, no matter what, Superman will, even if the odds are impossible, Superman will save you. You'll be okay. Batman, you might die, but he will kill you. He will get the guy who did this, right? Spider-Man, there's a 50-50 chance he's going to fail, I think.
Oh, he's going to help kill you.
He'll learn something from it, though.
He'll feel terrible about it, and you'll be a little floating head around his conscience later, But like, but Tom Cruise will probably save you. You'll probably be all right. I think your odds are better with Tom Cruise than Spider-Man, I think.
Well, having seen it twice now, I actually saw much more in the second film, setup-wise. Like, there's a lot of foreshadowing in the 7th film.
Yeah.
Without trying to give spoilers to the audience, but that bit that you mentioned where he's speaking to Haley Atwell, and she says, "Oh, is this the time where Bing Ryan's is saying join us?" And she say, "Oh, so this is the time where I join you and you protect me?" And he says, "Yes." And then Tom goes, "No." He says, "I can't promise that me or anyone else here can save you, but I will promise you that your life is more important than my own."
Yeah.
And it's a great line. But that goes back to a scene in the nightclub, because when Gabriel is talking to Haley Atwell, he says, "Oh, you don't trust Ethan. He's just about the mission. You could be collateral. As he doesn't care who dies, and trust me, people die all around him as long as he gets the mission done." And then she says, "Well, why should I believe you?" And he says, "You shouldn't, because you're in a web of lies now." Yeah. He says, "But just you wait till he promises he can save you." So she's been throughout the whole film very cagey about the whole situation. But when she actually gets that moment where she says, "Oh, this is where you promised to save me," and he actually says, "No." And that's actually the moment that she trusts him. because he said he doesn't say, yeah, I'll save you no matter what. He actually says, no, I can't promise that, but I do promise that your life is more important than mine. And that's when she tears up, and that scene's great. That's my favorite scene, I think, in the whole.
Maybe Gabriel was talking about Spider-Man. There's a 50-50 chance if it's Spider-Man.
You might crack your head and die. Oh,
Whoops.
Cheers. So now that we've big up to Mission Impossible, you're welcome, Tom.
He
Mark,
needs it right now.
With so many just massive franchises behind you, with Civil War, Logan, all of that Marvel stuff, the mainstream stuff.
That's a good name.
Nemesis Reload. Yeah, I've got it. Got it all. Nemesis was 6 parts, wasn't it? And Ambassador, no, 5 parts. And then Ambassadors was 6. But your own stuff, your own creations, Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Wanted. These aren't just comics. These are comics which were created and then pretty much immediately went into film production.
Yeah.
What's it like being responsible for things like Wanted, things see on the big screen, like Kick-Ass, like Kingsman, and how well received, especially, particularly, I would say Kick-Ass and Kingsman, really well received those first films. Well,
if I can make Hollywood studios richer, that's my mission in life. If I can help them get richer, I'm serving a purpose. For me, I just do what I want to do. I do the kind of comics I want to write, and it amazes me that they get, they sell as comics or get made into films, whatever. Because I literally am sitting doing this in the house most of the time, just entertaining myself. When I was 5 years old, I did this. I would sit and draw my own little X-Men versus Spider-Man comics with Superman jumping into the fight and everything, And I'm doing this as an adult, and so you can't get too big-headed about it. It's like I've just been extremely lucky. Luckily, what I'm interested in is what lots of other people are interested in too. And long may that continue. It's great. So Wanted, people kind of forget, but Wanted made 3.5 times as much money as Kick-Ass. Like the first Wanted film came out and did gangbusters. It did 342 million on a 70 million budget. And that was the first try at this, right? And I was like, my God, this is really easy, isn't it? And it was David Goyer said to me, I went to visit him on the Dark Knight set, and because we were nearby, and he said to me, dude, you've no idea how lucky this is. And I was like, what do you mean? Does this not happen all the time? And he was like, no. He said, to get your Angelina movie and 340 million gross. That's Marvel money. That's crazy. And I think I then stepped back and realized I'd had a Super Bowl commercial and all this, all with my first movie. So, but for me, it just seems like whether I was getting paid peanuts for it or getting paid a lot of money or whatever, this is just what I would be doing anyway. This is what I love doing. The movies, I've always loved movies. I'm obsessed with movies, but primarily I'm a comic guy. This is what I love, and I do it as a hobby.
That's what I really appreciate hearing, because I think, there's a lot of people who just want to go straight to Hollywood. I'm not going to say it's all peers. It's a lot of people. And it's always been nice to see a few people want to just say, I just like comic books. I'm a comic book writer. And it's amazing that you still have your feet grounded in that, and you're still getting movies made. You see how that works?
It's kind of the opposite from what people think, right? So I see people putting together projects that they're essentially trying to sell as movies, right? And it's like, what if it's E.T. meets Titanic, and Elliot's on it, and they're giving you these terrible pitches as comics, right? I kind of almost come up with stuff that's unfilmable, like Kick-Ass is like the impossible Spider-Man story, isn't it? It opens with the superhero with his trousers at his ankles masturbating to internet porn, right? It's like nobody's making a movie of this. There's a 10-year-old girl who kills people with guns and knives, and she swears like an action movie star, and then weeks later it's been made into a film. It's like, so the thing I've realized though is Ghost World, Sin City, 300, Kick-Ass, Kingsman, all these things that are a bit odd are the things that people are drawn to, actually, and the things that you would think would be terrible films, nobody, totally uncommercial, have, I don't know, an authenticity, because the guy doing the comic loves doing the comic, and that is infectious and gets people to want to make the movie instead of some terrible pitch where it's War of the Worlds meets Predator or whatever. It's like, You got to try and do a good comic. And you know, I'm actually in a weird situation because I sold my company in 2017 to Netflix. Like Millar will be sold, and that's entirely owned by Netflix now. And part of the deal was they got me. You know, like I'm part of it now, so I'm in house as an executive at Netflix, and part of my job is like looking at, you know, the cuts and giving notes and listening to the pitches and all this kind of thing, right? But I also create new IP, as they call it. I hate to say IP, but like to create new properties.
No, I get it.
But part of my conditions was I said, okay, but you have to let me write comics the way I used to write comics. And they were like, no, we don't need that. It's okay. We just need you to write them. You could write them as a 25-page scriptment or something instead. And I was like, but you don't understand. I didn't get into comics to get into Hollywood. Like, I love Hollywood, but I'm a comic book guy, you know. So I, for free, write comic books, you know. So for the last 6 years, I've just written these books for free because I love doing them. And I make sure the artist gets paid a hell of a lot of money. You know, the artist gets paid way more than Marvel or DC would pay. But I literally do it for the pure love of it. And my day could be half as long, you know, but I just love doing comic books.
And it shows.
Are you okay? Are you okay, Mark? Are you okay? I mean, it's 20. We're nearly 25 minutes in already. You haven't told the audience to fuck off yet. Yeah, you know, you haven't said if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book or anything. I'm just
writing comic books for free.
Yeah, writing comic books for free. I love comics. I love writing. This is new, confusing stuff for us here.
I'll tell you an important thing. I also love comic fans, right? And this sounds weird. Like, I was 13. Right? I know this is crazy, right? When I was 13 years old, I went to my first ever comic convention, right? Sure. And it was in Glasgow, in the Central Hotel in Glasgow. And Alan Moore was there, right? And Alan Moore wasn't yet Alan Moore. He was just becoming Alan Moore at this time. You know, he'd done a couple issues of Swamp Thing. And he wasn't mobbed. People were coming up and shaking his hand and saying, you know, they like his Swamp Thing and they love Marvel Man and everything. But I went up to him and I said, listen, I can't believe you do this for a job. How did this happen? And he spent an hour with me. I was only 13 and he spent a whole hour just chatting on the floor of the, you know, where all the back issues are and the long boxes and everything. And I had no money, right? I'd run out of cash. I only had 50 pence, which was enough for my train home. I didn't have money left to buy any more comics. I'd spent everything, but I loved this guy immediately. I was like, this guy's amazing, you know? And he told me about his Swamp Thing comic. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'd love to buy one, but I actually don't have any more cash left. And he went into his pocket and he took out 50 pence. And he gave me 50 pence. And he bought me the comic right from one of the long boxes. And as soon as I had more money, I came back and bought everything else I could, you know? And I remember thinking, number one, these people are the most awesome guys on earth, right? It's like, I've loved this stuff my whole life and I meet them and they're even better than I expected, right? Number one. Number two, this place has got maybe 800 people in it. It was back in the days when a convention was kind of small in a hotel, you know, 800 people in it who are just like me. And I'd never met anybody like me before, you know, like, because I had to keep that side of me kind of quiet, you know, like.
Sure. No, we did in those days, didn't we?
Yeah, at the time you're 10 or 11, I could do the football talk and I could do all this kind of stuff, you know. But there was that little secret side of me that loved comic books and Star Trek and all this kind of thing, right? But you did not bring that up in school after.
No. So then
I thought, here's a whole bunch of people who are just like me. This is the greatest place in the world. And I couldn't wait. There was another one in 6 months' time, and I could not wait for it. And I got to know all the guys and became part of the community. And that's what I always say with everyone with comics, because I spend a lot of time in Hollywood, like I say, and out of comics. But as every moment I can, I come in and I'm like, guys, stop fighting, right? And this might be because I'm a dad of 3 kids, right? I'm like, stop fighting. Like, you guys have everything in common. Everything, you know, like, you can't go all High Sparrow and like these guys are pure and these guys are impure and all that, you know, like just hang out. You know, you guys will get on great. I guarantee it. If you met in real life, you would be best friends. You know, it's crazy.
I had a similar experience when I was a teenager. I'd kind of gotten into Hitman by Garth Ennis and John McCrae. And I went to Birmingham because they were signing in Birmingham. So I lived in Yorkshire pretty much all my life. So I traveled down to Birmingham. Like you, I had no money. I literally had like train fare, and I brought, I think, Hitman 1 with me for them to sign. But I did buy one of those silver, those silver pens, because those are the ones that used to sign. So I bought one of them because he's signing it with a black pen on everyone else, and I'm just like, oh no, I want you to sign it with this. And I get to John McCrae. Garth Ennis was a bit, yeah. But I went to John McCrae, and I said, "Can you sign with this silver marker?" He says, "Oh yeah, good one, bringing this." So he signs it, and he says, "Do you want a picture?" And he's selling these pictures at like, I can't remember what they were, like 350 for like a page.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I can't afford that sort of stuff. And he just went, oh no. He says, I'll just draw you a picture.
Nice.
You want one? And I was like, yeah. It's like, what do you want? So I just told him what I wanted, and he just drew this picture, signed it to me. And then I went over to Garth, and I got him to sign it with a silver pen. And then Garth was just like, can we keep this pen to do the signings with? I was like, oh yeah, you can keep the pen. I've got my shit signed. I'm great, So they kept the silver pen, and then they started signing everyone else's in silver pen. But yeah, I thought John was trying to upsell, and I had no money as a kid. Yeah. But no, he was asking if anyone just wanted a quick free sign, freehand image picture, and it was great. So
I love John. I love
that you want.
Garth and John are good friends of mine. I mean, we all started in the business around the same time, back in 1990 or so. We all met. So 33 years ago, And the thing I always remember about John McCrae, number one, I've seen him vomit into a pint glass, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And it was kind of like somebody pouring a pint of Guinness. He just leaned over and vomited into the glass, took it right to the top, and then just spat it down and ordered another drink. Right, number one. The other thing is, no matter how drunk he is, and I've been in hotel rooms with him after hours, we were all back in somebody's room. Johnny does 100 setups every night, no matter how drunk he is. Before he goes to sleep, he does 100 setups.
Wow.
To stay,
wow.
So it's working. It's working for
I can't even count to 100. Jeez, man. So, I mean, you just said, you mentioned Kick-Ass, and you're just like, it's so weird, right in a comic that, you just couldn't imagine even going on the screen, starting off with.
Yeah, how about the opening for Wanted? That's a pretty good.
I just remember when Kick-Ass came out, and everyone's just like, God, this is completely different, because we've got this crazy kid, he's just getting into fights, and then this 10-year-old girl swears like a French sailor, going around shooting everyone in the head, and they were sort of talking about how graphic it was, and I'm sort of like, you should actually read it. Because of how even sanitized they managed to make the film comparative to what goes on in the actual comic itself was
a little toned down.
Pretty, it got toned down a wee bit as well. But after that, no, go on, you go on.
No, not too bad though. I remember the original plan was to go with the studios. This was made as an independent film and then sold to a studio. And what happened was Matthew and Jane had written this amazing screenplay, And I remember they'd written the screenplay. I flew down to Matthew's house, and I sat in his ante room, while they sat in another room. It takes 2 hours to read these things properly, So I was sitting there on my own reading, and I came through and I said, "This is like the Pulp Fiction for superheroes. This is amazing, guys! I cannot believe how good this is." And everybody was all shaking hands and having a drink, and we were like, "This is going to be amazing." And every single studio turned it down, but everyone said, this is nightmarish, And there was one studio, I think it was Sony, was so horrified by it, they wrote like 9 pages of notes.
Wow.
And their idea is everything that made it good, they tried to neutralize, So they said, Hit Girl should be 25. She shouldn't have any guns. She shouldn't have any knives. She shouldn't swear. She should be a hand-to-hand combat expert. And she should always have a political message and And it was like everything wrong, right? And Matthew, to his eternal credit, was like, okay, I'm going to borrow 28 million and I'm going to go and make this independently, and then I'm going to sell it back to you for more money than it would have cost you if you bought it in the first place. And he did it.
So when we talk about studio notes, chat, 9 pages on a pitch.
I think one of us here has a video coming out soon, not so soon, named Millar, that will describe studio notes and how much they ruin a film almost perfectly. So that Matthew Vaughn, one of my favorite directors of all time, if not my favorite living director right now. Guy's a freaking legend.
Yeah.
I love pretty much everything he does since Layer Cake. That was the first movie I saw. Layer Cake. It was freaking genius.
Good film. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to see him. You know, I know we already got it Wanted, but I'd love to see another crack at Wanted, a comic book accurate Wanted. With the biggest, you know, I like the movie. I thought it was fine. I love the comic book. By the way, I sold the shit out of that comic book in San Francisco in trades. I like that. That was always in my top picks. It was always in my top 5 picks, and yeah, I sold that. And Watchmen probably sold the most. I'd love to see another crack, but we're getting kind of a sequel to that called it's, if you read, well, Nemesis Reloaded, it's all gonna connect, which is weird. We got a Millarverse going on with all of these shared universes that have gone out of control, but this one I'm actually down with, called Big Game. So that's coming out this week.
You just call me.
No, that I'm Big Game. You know what? I gotta put a title under my name. It's like Mark's a legend. That's fine. Founder of Long. Here, I'm just gonna say.
You know, it sounds good that mine says legend, but I did write that myself. That was
yes, I believe you.
So.
Yes.
It just applies them automatically. Okay.
Well, do you know what's funny? Wanted's a funny one because it was the very first ever Mellow World project, right? And it happened because of Stan Lee. Like, I was interviewing Stan and I was on the phone to him, and I'm never nervous, right? Like, I've been in really weird situations and I just don't get nervous. It's like a weird superpower, right? And the only time I've ever been nervous was phoning Stan Lee. And it felt like phoning God or something, you know, like, how can Stan have a human phone number? You know, like it felt preposterous that he could be catalogued in numbers like that, you know? So I phoned Stan, and it was changed my life. You know, I spoke to him for over 2 hours on the phone, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. You know, like, it was about early 2003 or something. I'd been working at Marvel for a while, and I remember around about that time I had 4 books in the top 5. Right, I had the Ultimates, which was massive. You know, like Ultimate X-Men.
Yeah.
And a mini-series called Ultimate War. 2 issues came out in 1 month. Right, so 4 out of the 5 books that month that were in the top 5 were me. And I was kind of saying to Stan, you know, I was trying to impress him. You know, I was like, yeah, things are good, Stan. You know, I'm a proper Marvel writer. And he said to me, you know, there will come a time when Marvel don't want you. And I was like, hang on, what? And it was like, and he was so wise. You know, like, I love old guys, right? Like, I've got loads of old guy friends because no matter what is going on in your life, old guys have seen it 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they've got good advice. You know, and Stan at this point's in his 80s. And he said to me, you know, right now it's good, you know, and this will last a few years, I'm sure. But there will come a point, like it comes with everyone, where it has to be replenished, and the new faces will come into Marvel, and you will be on, you know, you'll be stuck on Nova or something like that. You know, you're going to be doing some book nobody's reading, and then you're out, you know. And like he said, what you have to do is get in there and create your own stuff. And he said the opportunities you have in your generation is incredible. He says, like, my generation of guys, we knew we were never going to own this stuff. We never imagined there would ever be movies of it. I mean, a cartoon seemed like the biggest thing it could possibly be. And he said, but you know, you guys, every one of these things could be $1 billion franchise. He said, imagine what me and Stan and Jack and Steve could have done, you know, with the opportunities you have. And I actually saw it as, it was like Moses in the burning bush, you know. I was kind of like, I have to change my life now, you know. So I wrote Wanted, put it into, you know, ended up in the previews, you know, the previews industry catalog to see what's coming up.
Oh yeah.
And it optioned as a movie before the book even came out because Jared Leboff, who was in Mark Platt's office, bought previews every month, and it was very clever. He said, you don't go to the comic store because by that point the book is optioned. He says you go to previews and find out 3 months early what you should be optioning, you know.
Yeah.
So they bought Wanted, and the whole Hollywood thing just sort of happened from there, you know. So like, so Wanted is a really special thing for me, you know. And this is the 20th anniversary of that conversation, pretty much, you know. So what I did is I created a sequel to Wanted, which people have asked about for a long time. Wanted's always been a big seller for us, and I thought, well, this book that's out tomorrow, Big Game, is literally the official sequel to Wanted. Every character is aged in real time across the whole Mellow World universe.
Yeah.
So Kick-Ass, we met him in 2008. He's now 31. Hit Girl is 26. I think 45 now for Wesley Gibson from Wanted. You know, everybody's just aged from when you last saw them, so it's like the real world. And this is it's the sequel to Wanted, but also the first ever crossover of all of my characters. Everybody, 20 franchises all happening at once, and I stole Marvel's best artist. I just went into Marvel and DC, took their 2 best artists. You know, like I like to do that. You know, Don Corleone thing. You just go in, take DC's best guy, take Marvel's best guy, and go and have a good summer. You know?
Hell yeah! I can't wait. I can't wait for this to come out.
I'll send you tonight. I'll send you copies tonight. I'll get them sent over as PDFs. If you DM me your email, I'll fire them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, we're Access Media here. We'll
Access Media. We'll give it a glowing review. It'll be an absolute triumph.
Well, I haven't had a contact with you till today. This is the first time we've actually communicated today. And as the chat will attest, we talk about our pop culture stuff on the show. It's called BBC, which stands for bagging, boarding, and chatting. So the show started off by us just shooting the shit while bagging our comics, because we had a shit ton of comics to bag and board.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this predominantly. You know, we do our pop culture, but when we got comics, we do that. And I'd gone through with the Ambassador stuff. I'd gone there with the Nemesis Reloaded, and I'd already spoken about what big games coming out, and big games gonna bring them all in.
Yeah.
And I've had that on pre-order for probably best part of 2 months now. As soon as it was announced it was going to be out, I was like, oh, based off what I've been reading and way back, I say way back when we're talking 2016-ish, I think.
Yeah.
When you did Reborn. And I picked up Reborn because of I really enjoy Greg Capullo's art.
He's great.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal artist, and so I picked up Reborn through that, and you had the McFarlane cover and all that stuff with it. So I've had this bizarre sort of consistency with your franchises, even if I didn't, potentially know it at that time.
Yeah.
Like, when you're watching, when I was like watching Wanted or Kick-Ass or Kingsman back in the day, you don't tend to think of who wrote it in the comic form. Sure. You might not even know who directed it. You might hear that Michael Vaughn's going to be directing this or whatever. And you just sort of get into the property itself and just like, oh, that was really good, or you really enjoyed that. And then suddenly you find that these are all linking together. Why do I consistently like these? Oh, well, the common denominator is they're written by this one guy.
Yeah.
And so it kind of pushes you to then seek out the other stuff. Mm-hmm. When you are putting together big game, when you're bringing in all of these franchises into one, and because you've gone real time a la 2000 AD, you've gone real time with these characters. Is it difficult to balance, let's say, Kick-Ass because of how he came on as a teenager, how Hit Girl was not even a teenager, and now trying to write them as fully realized adults? How do you sort of balance that when you put it into like this massive crossover where you're balancing multiple franchises in one?
I think they just always felt real to me, so them aging just feels real. Like there's something funny. I talk about this with comic book writers a lot. I sort of know what Green Lantern would have for his dinner, right? I know what Hal Jordan would have for his dinner, and I kind of know what TV programs he would watch. He's not a real person, but I sort of know him, right? And I know what he would and how he would spend his spare time and what he would order at a bar, right? I can visualize him. And with your own characters, it's even more so. It's such a personal relationship you have with them. So Dave Lazuski at 16, I know him at 31, and there's a little bit of me in all of these characters as well, So I know exactly what it'd be like. So actually it was a lot easier than you think. And I wrote Civil War, which was the only time I've ever done a big company crossover before. But it's really hard, right? Because you're writing, 100 characters, tying in with like 200 books, and those tripled the sales on the tie-in books and everything, so everybody wanted in on it, and not everybody did as they were told. People would go and do their own version of things, and it was driving me crazy. It was really hard, and I mean, it was worth it in the end. Somebody said it's like having a baby. It's like it's painful, but there's something at the end of it. But like your own thing is so much easier. It's just me doing the story. I don't tie in with any other books except something I've written already, so I know it very well. And it's all my best friends drawing the books. So it's just a bunch of guys having a good time. And every day as those emails are coming in with an attachment, with a beautiful page of art, it's the best email I get all day. You know, it's like it was just pure joy doing it. I loved it.
Because with Big Game, because I've been stalking your Twitter like any good person should, and you said not everyone's getting out of this one.
Yep.
So this is going to be a big deal for these characters.
Absolutely, this is the Omega book of this thing. You know, so the Millarworld stories have a beginning, middle, and end. You know, and you don't have to read them all, but if you do read them all in the reading order, I suggest there is a big 54-volume story here. It's completely insane, but it has a beginning, middle, and end, and that is the end of their stories. You know, like I've still to go back and I've got to finish off like Magic Order, I've got to finish Nightclub and all these things. So it's not like the end of my publishing at the moment, but what it is it's the end of their big story. So not everyone gets out of this alive, and I'm worried. Even as a kid, I knew Han Solo should have died in Return of the Jedi. You know, like a death is meaningful if it's heroic and it's cool. You know, and you know, just everybody, you know, all happy and you know everybody's alive at the end. It's very unlikely in a giant battle, you know. So I kind of like the idea of some people taken out, and it makes the story mean something as well, you know. And they won't be back. They won't be back a few months later.
So what is next with these? You said you got some loose ends with some of the characters to tie off, but what happens then? What happens when you've created the Omega storyline to your world? What does Mark Millar then do?
I've actually got quite a few stories to finish off, you know. So like it doesn't affect Big Game in a difficult way or anything like that, but I've got to finish off Magic Order, I've got Prodigy to finish, I've got 2 volumes of Nightclub to do. So there's a couple of years stuff beyond Big Game that Magic Order is my favorite. People ask me what's your favorite thing you've ever done, and I think Magic Order Volume 1 is my favorite thing I've ever done. And what I'm also pleased with is the Magic Order TV show. There is the Magic Order TV show, I think, is going to be the best of all the adaptations we've ever done. I think it's going to be absolutely spectacular. The scripts are just exquisite. It's very me, you know. Like if you like my kind of thing, this is for you. You know, it's going to be good.
Any idea when that's coming? Well, not anytime soon.
Well, the writer's strike and the actor's strike. You know, I mean, it's weird. Everybody's like Captain America, frozen in ice just now. You know, but like, you know, well, just once. But the thing is, it's happening to everybody at once. You know, so once hopefully everybody's happy and everything's resolved and everything, we're out the other side, it'll be full steam ahead, you know, like we're all raring to go.
Do you think that the writer's strike is the time where writers are actually at the most productive right now? Because they could just concentrate on writing all day, every day while the strike's on, and then when it's over.
Except for George R.R. Martin, but yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the only one who's actually going to be on strike during the writer's strike.
Look, do you know, weirdly, like I thought COVID would be like that. You know, everybody was off for like 18 months in COVID, and I was like, I bet there's going to be some amazing books that have been written in the 18 months where everybody's trapped in the house, and I bet there's going to be some fantastic spec screenplays, and there was kind of nothing. You know, like nobody read it.
They were complaining on Twitter and watching Tiger King. That's what happened.
Have you heard, Bret Easton Ellis has got a theory about Twitter, which I think is really interesting. He says that he thinks that social media, I mean, anybody middle-aged like me, you know, always complains about social media being detrimental to young people. But he thinks it's really affected the next generation of people coming through in terms of, and his big thing, he said, is he would be so bored that he learned how to be a writer. Like, he had nothing to do at night, so he just read a lot and then wrote a lot. And musicians would be in their bedroom with a guitar and have nothing else to do but learn to be really brilliant on that guitar. And his worry, he said, is that children never have a chance to get bored, man, because there's always something to occupy their time. And I think there's something in that, you know, like, I worry about that.
I agree.
Absolutely agree with that. When we're of the same age. So, you know, people like to glorify the 80s and 70s. They were boring. They were mostly boring. And we had to find different and special ways to get in trouble or find hobbies. And
that developed our whole social skills. Yes. You know, that's what developed our social skills. And that could lead to, I mean, people used to like to come. You talked earlier about geek was underground, and it was. People don't understand that nowadays. Nowadays, everyone's a fucking geek on the. Excuse my friend, but everyone's a geek on the internet now. You know, somebody mentions, oh, we're going to do this property's coming out, and suddenly there's 10 bazillion fans who know all about it because they read one Wikipedia page and suddenly pretend. Whereas when I would be into like Transformers, Lego, all this kind of stuff as a kid. I could speak all the football talk. I knew all the sports talk. I did all the sports back in those days as well. But I would buy a Transformers comic like I was buying a porn mag.
Oh, you would hide it inside the porn mag?
You would put it into the porn mag and buy the porn mag. And they caught me buying porn. Phew, they didn't see the Transformers magazine that I had inside there. You wouldn't talk about that with any
the comics were always, at least in America, the comics were always on the other side of the shelf or the same shelf as the porn mags anyway.
But yeah, they don't but I was the guy who they would always come round to his house to play Transformers or to play Star Wars with, because I was the guy that always had like the ideas about the stories, because you'd create your own little stories of what was going on.
Yeah.
And those that doesn't happen anymore. You just got a bunch of teenagers who I say a bunch of teenagers, 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people on social media, and they're not developing social skills.
Yeah.
So you're getting people who don't have social skills getting frustrated with conversations which just denigrate and dissolve into slanging matches. What are you doing with your life? They getting up, living on Twitter. Hey, Kelly Sue DeConnick, I'm not going to go. Living on Twitter. That's all they're doing. Type all day long, all day, every day. Nothing productive. What are they going to produce? What are you going to produce at the end of the day on a creative level? Nothing.
And an echo chamber as well, because anytime there's a general election, a presidential election, or any kind of referendum, people are always shocked by the results, and it's because they only ever talk to people who agree with them, and they hate, it's an opposing army. My friends cut right across the spectrum, I've got really good friends in every camp, and I really love them, I've got lots of different groups of pals, right? So there's my old school friends, there's my work friends, there's my neighbors' friends, there's my school dad friends, that kind of stuff, There's usually about 8 to 10 guys all together, all out in the pub, in different locations. You will never find two guys with the same opinions about anything. We rip each other apart all night, but we're great friends, we do anything for each other. And that's what I worry about with my children's generation as well, is I hope I've raised them well, that they will respect people who they disagree with, that they're not bad people. They maybe believe in a smaller government where we believe in a larger government, that kind of thing, So it's arguing over nothing really, because ultimately, if they met in real life, they would get on. I hope.
And there's so much to agree on.
The majority to agree on. I tell the story a million times, so apologies, chat. But the one rule in my shop, I had a shop in San Francisco for 10 years, Mark, and
a coffee shop.
It was a comic shop. You might. And one of the rules was like no politics, and I never really had to enforce it because nobody really got into it. And it, I had my late father-in-law, Vietnam vet, with my friend William Selby, a conscientious objector, hated Vietnam, and they were in there just chatting up and having the best time talking about the old, hippie comics from the 60s. Yeah. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's what we're constantly on here trying to fight to preserve. It's not one side or the other. It's, fandom was a really fun place, especially in the early to 2000s to 2010 or 12, kind of peaked, but it was a good time. You were writing really good comics. This guy wrote The Ultimates, chat, if you're not aware. It's a book that kind of changed everything for Marvel and the way they approached writing art. It took a long time to come out, but it's one of those rare exceptions that people would wait and it would sell like crazy. And it was fantastic. He also did Red Sun. That's another classic one right there. But yeah, that was a good time, and that's what we're trying to preserve. And it's nice, we had you've been kind of following Comic-Con. I'm here in San Diego for Comic-Con. There's no Hollywood, and this is the first one I've been excited for in a decade. I can't wait to go. I'm looking forward to it because it's just going to be comic people there for the most part, and that's kind of what I want. I want to go to the comic convention to buy comic books and to meet comic book creators. And there's new ones. And I want to thank Mark for making me excited for new comics again. You know, I've got my friend Eric July out there who's making some stuff, but like Az and I gave up DC and Marvel completely 2.5, 3 years ago, just because the storytelling got bad and the creators were treating the fans like crap. You've never done that, so thank you. I wish more people would follow your lead, but thank you for getting us excited. But yeah, do you think I'm of the belief that fandom can get back to that, but I think comic books just needs to be kind of what it's always been, is niche. Once the corporations are gone.
It's a big niche as well, because I remember in 1996, I think it was, I went 2 years in a row, 96 and 97. I went to San Diego for the first time, right? And like, I was flying economy, squeezed into like a rubbish seat beside a big fat guy and all that, you know. It's like, but it was like the best 5 days of my life, right? Like, I remember thinking, this is like a religious experience, you know. Like, I mean, we're going somewhere where it's beautiful, it's sunny, everybody's talking about comics. Nobody was talking about movies except the way we talk about music or TV shows, you know, just in the background.
Sure.
But like, but everyone was excited about comics, and I was trying to get work. You know, everybody's looking for work, and you're hustling and trying to meet editors and other pros you could maybe package things together with. Super exciting. And I could be wrong, but if I remember right, the attendance was around 100,000 then anyway, right? So it was kind of at capacity. And what you have now is, I don't know, 135,000 or something. But it's mostly people who don't read comic books, right? So, so I had a real, you know, the alcoholics have a thing called a moment of clarity where they hit rock bottom and they realize, okay, enough, right? I felt this last week, right, when I saw, not for alcohol, I still drink all the time, right? But I saw this thing about San Diego Comic Con not having Hollywood there, and I actually just suddenly realized, why did we let Hollywood in the first place?
Why'd you let them in? Yeah.
And what it felt like to me was this was a thriving thing that even in the late 90s, with the only good comics that were coming out, you know, you could probably count in one hand at one point around about 1996, 97, mostly Mark Waid and Kurt Busiek, you know, a couple of really great guys writing stuff then, and Grant Morrison, a couple of people, Warren Ellis, but not a huge amount of excitement in the industry as a whole. And yet Comic-Con was vibrant. You know, this wasn't the Image years or anything. It was buzzing. And I thought, we let another industry come in and take our lunch money. They just came in and we stood back and we let them walk onto the stage that used to be us, and we let all the actors and everything, and we clapped them and we said, have our green room. We're not allowed in the green room anymore. You guys can have the green room, you know, because you guys are more important, you know. And then there's all these people from all these terrible CW shows, you know, I mean, that I've never heard of, you know, all showing up at San Diego. And the guys who do the comic books are like, it's like in Animal Farm, when everybody's looking in and they see the pigs, you know, and they're in control of the farm now, you know. And it felt like that, you know, like we were suddenly in the outside of our own business. And I just think, right, bugger off, guys, you know, like, you're not coming back, you know. And I see this as a guy who'll be there next year with one of my movies or one of my shows, right?
Yeah.
At least I am a comic book.
Free. I totally.
But you know, we should never have given that up, you know. And I actually think, see, whenever creators get a sense of self-worth again and realize, oh no, this shouldn't be a stepping stone to Hollywood. And I'm in Hollywood, right? So I can tell you that comic books is at least as cool as Hollywood, right? At least as cool. And like, if not more so, because you can really do what you want. But I think when people have that sense of self-worth and realize the value of comics, like Eric July, for example, even from a financial point of view, Eric July is making more from his Ison comic than most people are making from screenplays and so on. You know, like, you know, there's a glamour to comics if you let it happen.
Absolutely. It's the best medium. It's also something I noticed early on. It's a self-loathing industry. It's always been like, a lot of comic books are like comic book writers and artists, just like you said, that they don't have a lot of self-worth, and they should. And that might come across with how they treat other people. See, Mark's comfortable in his old skin, so he doesn't treat other people like garbage. And that really matters. Like, you know, I know a few comic artists, and some of them are sad. Some of them are really sad guys, and that might be the artist in them. But yeah, I hope this new independent movement really brings a new energy to it, something different. We do kind of need to go back to basics in the industry too, but it doesn't mean you have to go completely backwards. And, you know, I was in Barnes & Noble, my local Barnes & Noble. It's our last chain bookstore here in America before they all go away to Amazon. And the saddest thing I saw was the American comic book industry and Western comic books. Just it was 2 shelves now. The last time I was here 6 months ago, it was 4. But they lost 2 more shelves to manga. And it's sad. And what we saw there was just a hodgepodge of Marvel and DC and some indie books, but like nothing that anybody put any thought into. At this Barnes & Noble 10 years ago, Mark, when Comic-Con was here, there would be a big display. Comic-Con, none of that. When you used to know for at least the last 15 years, if you drove around San Diego, any part, North County, you would know con is coming this week. You have no idea right now. So that part is sad. That part is sad. And manga came in and filled a need. So I still think there's great stories to be told out there. Mark is one of the people trying to keep that going. Where do you see this industry go? It is a big question. Where do you see this industry going over the next few years now that Hollywood is going to clearly be a little less interesting?
It's interesting. It's a great question. I'm on holiday right now. Like, I'm back in Scotland with the family, and this isn't my office. This is like my holiday home here. I've got a tiny office.
It's no need to boast, Mark. Come on.
No, my office is
the office too.
This is my office.
This is just boxes behind me. Like, my office has got lots of comics and things. You know, you'll see soon. But like, I was in this is my home city that I'm in just now. So I'm back home visiting family. So I'm obsessed with the shelf space for graphic novels in mainstream bookstores. Right, it's a real obsession with me. So. I'm back home for a couple of weeks in Scotland, and this morning I went down to my local Watersons, which is their version of Barnes & Noble, you know, and I looked at the comic book section, and what used to be maybe 4 walls, I think at one point, which was maybe 40 shelves, like a lot, is now down to 2 shelves. And it's not even entirely comics that's on those 2 shelves. There's a few things in there that look like art books, couple of design manuals and things like that. And my wife was over in another section, and I went over and I said, come and see this. Look at this. And every time I come back, and I come back to Scotland regularly, we stay here a little bit. I come back and I say, look at this now. Look what's happening now. And it gets smaller and smaller. And we keep hearing all the stuff, you know, like comics is doing better than it ever has and everything. And the one thing that I do like is that in some sense is true, because the American comic book industry and graphic novel industry is making a lot of money, but it's all imported books from other countries.
Yes.
There's nothing. The domestic market is crippled, and I know the numbers on this because I look this stuff up all the time. And the domestic market, the American numbers is 79% manga, and 6% Marvel and DC. People talk about independence, 2% independent. So that's Image, Boom, Dark Horse, Titan. Everybody is 2%, right? And everything else is Dogman.
Thriving,
right?
Mark. Thriving.
Well, you know, and the weird thing is the paper sales is good. You know, like the manga section in these stores is very healthy looking. It looks good. And I know loads of kids reading comics, but they're reading manga, you know, as I do. I like manga too. I've been reading it since 1988. I love manga. But
I got a guy called Liam Khan here in the chat, and he says, Mark, is there any manga that you're a fan of, primarily as a Western guy? So I
like Chainsaw Man, Blue Exorcist. One of my kids got me into Blue Exorcist. I mean, the one that everybody read when I was growing up was Akira. You know, that was my gateway drug into manga. I loved it, you know. And I saw that this morning in the shelf, and I was like, it's good that's still there. You know, little kids are getting into that. Well, teenagers, you know, are getting into that now too. So yeah, I love manga. So this is no slight on manga or Japanese creators, because I love that they are doing stuff, thank God, that somebody likes, you know. But the American industry must learn from this and think, okay, what are we doing wrong? It's the American car industry in the 1980s. The American car industry was completely consumed by overseas products. And then what they did very cleverly was look and think, okay, how do we reassess? What are they doing right and what are we doing wrong? How do we fix this? And I think it's a very simple plan. I think there's only a few steps needed to fix the American comic industry, because my friends, including me, who I barely read any American comics anymore, and my friends would love to pick up comics. They always ask me, they say, is there anything cool you can recommend? And I recommend some stuff, but it's nothing like, I looked at the 1980s catalog, right? I looked at the 1985 catalog, and this isn't just nostalgia. I looked at it, and it's all Frank Miller, Walt Simonson, John Byrne, you know, Howard Chaykin. Every month, you know, people at the top of their game. Marvel and DC between them are putting out 30 to 40 4- or 5-star books every month. You know, I mean, under Dick Giordano at DC and Jim Shooter at Marvel, it was unbelievable, you know. And Joe Quesada and Dan DiDio at DC back in the early part of the 21st century.
Yeah.
There was 10 years of generally excellent stuff. There was a lot of good stuff. Comics has kind of lost its way, you know, like, and the numbers are there to prove it. This isn't middle-aged guys talking. You know, this is the numbers are there. People are not picking up the stuff. You go in and you see nothing on the shelves, you know. But I think you course correct. I think you're going to hate this, right? But one of the things I think that everybody disagrees with me on is I think you need to get Marvel Comics firing on all cylinders again, right? And this is a weird thing to say for a guy outside of the big two. Independent comics, historically, if you look at the trends going back literally decades, and I've looked at all the numbers, independent comics do well on the back of Marvel and DC doing well.
Yes.
So people come into the stores because they love Jim Lee's X-Men and, you know, they like Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. And then they'll maybe try out that independent book, you know. And this is historically the case. DC does well when Marvel does well, and indie books do well when they both do well.
Yes.
Just a bit of excitement. The cinema is the same. Whenever there's amazing big movies in the cinemas, you know, big billion-dollar movies, more people go and see the little indie movies because they're in the habit of going to the cinema. You can't just have one book a month that people want. You have to have 20 books a month people want, and then people come into the stores and they start dropping cash on the counter again and picking up comics again. So I think the number one thing to fix, because there's a lot of good indie books out there, there's actually still some good indies, but nobody sees them. And I think the thing you fix is Marvel Comics first. You know, you have to really fix Marvel. And DC, I can see the green shoots of recovery already with DC. Like, I've gone from 0 DC books to maybe 3 now, you know. And I used to buy 20 a month, you know. But I'm buying 3 now, which is a lot more than 3 more than I was buying last year. You know, so you've got World's Finest is very good. Green Lantern's very good. Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern's great. You know, Shazam's good. You know, there's a few good DC books. But see if Marvel can just get some killer teams on everything, get some brilliant guys in there. I mean, I'm really busy at work and everything just now, but I'm going to try something next year. I'm going to try and get a little carve out in my contract and try and get a bunch of pals together and just get 20 great creators who are busy doing other things to come in and do some awesome runs. You know, just like just come in and do, you know, Frank Quitely doing Spider-Man, you know.
Sure.
Greg doing Wolverine or something. Just get some great guys doing great characters.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You repair the industry in 6 to 12 months.
Aren't you doing something Superman related?
That's what I want to do. I mean, it'll take me 3 months to write the Superman project, you know, and I'm going to try and get a little bit of a carve out in what I'm doing, like, because I've just got a certain commitment, a bunch of things that I have to work on. There's a lot of stuff next year, but I'm going to try and get 3 months out and do Superman. But I have another project as well, and I'm going to try and do 2. I'm going to say to all my friends, just say, look, this is nothing official. This industry could go away, you know, like the American industry can go away. I'm in London a lot, right? And I used to work for a company that did 2000 AD when I was a teenager. I worked on 2000 AD. And I walk past their old offices now, and it's student flats, it's student apartments, accommodation, right? It doesn't exist anymore. That company it does, sorry, the place where it used to be is gone, and the big company it was part of that produced lots of comics is gone. 2000 AD is the last there is of the British comic book industry almost, you know, like compared to the thriving industry I grew up with. That industry used to employ hundreds of people, and now it employs a couple of dozen people, possibly. And it's not impossible the American comic book industry goes the same way. And I know this is going to sound alarmist, and somebody's going to do a crap meme about this or something, right? But it's not impossible that within 5 years, Marvel and DC, who are owned by big companies who don't really care about publishing, are going to license them off to some cheap ass.
I couldn't agree more. No, I absolutely agree with that.
And guys are going to be working for a tenth of what they're working for now, you know. So,
I think the people within
one last chance to fix it.
Sure. I think the people within like Marvel and DC, like the creator side of things, think that they're protected by Warner, and they think they're protected by DC. That is the furthest from the truth that they could be.
Yeah.
If they don't see value in the IP, you have no value because they're not bringing in money, and they're certainly not bringing in the money in the quantities that they want.
And these
So
parent companies,
they will ship it out. They will
license.
license it and ship it out because the IP is valuable, but they're not.
Mhm.
And the brand's not necessarily, you know, they'll just, you know, the brand's what the brand is. we own the brand.
And as
So
Mark
that
just
can
said,
get whacked on.
I don't think necessarily farming it out is a bad idea right now.
No, not with who's involved in the industry. Yeah. I agree. I don't think this is the irony. I don't think it would take too many steps to fix this.
1 year, I think.
The problem is the people who are there who don't want to do that. But I think we look at it from a practical, pragmatic.
We're starting
side.
to see the death of, and this is sad, but of 20th century models. My next video is about this. But we have, you know, hedge fund companies coming in. This is going to sound off topic, but it's not. And buying the local paper here in San Diego that I used to read growing up, San Diego Union Tribune, got bought by a hedge fund company. They were sold by the LA Times. And this hedge fund company, what they do is they just bleed stuff until it, and then they fire everybody and shut it down.
Yes.
That's what's going to start happening to comic book publishing if it doesn't turn around soon. It'll just be sold off in little pieces and dissolved. And
it's already happening in the game industry, Gary. It's already happening. They are buying these smaller creators, these smaller companies that have created IP, which people have loved. And then the bigger corporation, let's say Insomniac Games, and then EA will come in. They'll buy it. They'll release and publish the game which everyone likes. Because they've corporatized it and EA'd it, then people are just like, no, you've lost everything that was special about this franchise. And then EA turn around and go, right, close the studio. They then close the studio and shelve the IP. And this is what will happen with comics.
Yes.
This is exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
There was an urgency to comics whenever they weren't owned by gigantic corporations. Like whenever Disney came in, I remember it was like, you know, in V, the TV show V, it said the visitors are our friends.
Yes.
But I knew what was really going on. I was like, this is not for me. And people said there's a security coming, and I was like, no. The security is being a small outfit that makes a decent profit.
Yep.
And that decent profit is chicken feed to Disney, you know. So the publishing, I remember hearing in 1996, somebody told me at DC Licensing that Batman kites, you know, like toy kites. Batman kites made more money than Batman comics, and that was back in good publishing times.
Yeah.
So this is just a wing of licensing for these guys, and I worry there's two ways it could go. It could be given to companies that basically hire guys who treat the comic books like coloring books. It becomes like aircraft instruction manuals, you know, but it's just garbage. I spoke to friends about buying DC. Like I was quite serious about it, like the idea of starting something and licensing it from DC. But I had somebody sound them out, you know, and like it's not on the table yet. It's not on the table yet. And what I would have done if I had done, I don't think I'll have time to do it, but what I wanted to do was massively increase page rates. Completely restructure the business model.
Yes.
Where instead of getting this paltry percentage, the creator actually gets the bulk once you hit a certain number. So right now, none of the books are really selling. So if you can actually create an arbitrary number that they're not hitting at the moment and give a phenomenal royalty rate to the writer and artist, then that's very attractive to the kind of person who can sell a lot of comic books, you know? So like it suddenly becomes a very attractive proposition instead of working for something purely out of the love for it. You know, so I don't know. We'll see what the next few years holds. I don't rule it out, you know, like I enjoy the business side of it. I know exactly how to fix it, you know, and it's something I just love and I don't want to see go away. So Marvel, I suspect Marvel could, I mean, Warner's is in more financial trouble than Disney. And Disney's troubles are not, you know, they're not small. But I could see Marvel being licensed out, you know, but I think what you have with big companies, unfortunately, is people get into jobs and they don't want to get fired. So they just keep their head down and try and do the kind of comics nobody talks about so they don't have any controversy. Because there's all those Twitter lunatics out there, you know, who try and spin a bad story out of an interesting...
But then they're not even buying the comics. That's just the thing.
Yes, exactly.
They're listening to people who are destructive to the industry, and they're not listening to people who are purchasing their actual product. And more problematic than that, for want of a better phrase nowadays, but more problematic than that is the fact that they attack the actual customer that is purchasing their product while listening and agreeing and siding with the people who don't purchase the product, but they just agree with them on a thematic level, on an ideological level, and that's not going to sell them. It seems insane that we live in from a massive Batman fan, always have been. And by the way, going back to what you just said before, the merchandise for the '89 Batman film made way more money than the movie did.
Way more.
So it is a juggernaut. But as a Batman fan, I can't believe I'm living in an era where a Robin solo series gets cancelled. Well, ends on 10 issues, so cancelled at 6. Yeah. Because we're in a situation where it's just, and if you ever saw the new Tim Drake Robin comic. I mean, it's sick on a page. It's just
after DC did so much work. I'm again old enough to remember when having Robin being in a solo comic was laughable. Then Teen Titans came around, and then all of a sudden we had multiple Robin comics, and it's great. It was great, and they squandered that. You mind if I read a super chat?
Sure.
It's a question for Mark from my buddy Nick Weiser. 32 flavors of Nick Weiser for $10. Hail BBC in chat. Hail Mark, Mr. Millar. Do you have any crossovers planned after Big Game? Would love to see a showdown between Matthew Anderson of Nemesis and Huck.
That does happen. So I mean, basically all the characters meet all the characters. So it's that fanboy thing you had when you first saw Secret Wars, back in the 80s when you first saw Secret Wars. You cannot believe that all these guys are in one place and it's the price of a normal comic. You're like, what? It's all my favorite things in one place. So I wanted to, on the one level, it's more mature, it's a little more sophisticated, but it's a pure fanboy experience at the same time to see all these things you like.
Hell yeah. And to bring back that experience with your own stuff, that must be a cool feeling. And your stuff has been just spot on. It's been so freaking good. I was a big Millar simp at my shop, and that hasn't changed. So, yeah, thanks for answering that. Nick is a longtime viewer of both of ours. He's a good guy. Big comic book fan.
Well, I certainly don't mean this please do not in any shape, way, or form take this as a backhanded compliment. Right. But whereas Gary says he's a Mark Millar simp, I sort of what I'd class as organically became a fan based off the quality of your work without necessarily knowing what I was coming across and going, this is good. Oh, this is Mark Millar. Coming across, this is really good, Mark. To the point where I just said recently, Mark Millar's putting out some new stuff. I'm going to get the new Mark Millar stuff because I'd known of the quality of that. I'm picking up.
That's the way it is with everything, though, isn't it? When I was a kid, I remember thinking,
quality sells. That's quality sells.
But I love Robin Hood with Errol Flynn, right?
Yeah.
I love Casablanca. And I realized, okay, I like Michael Curtiz movies. It took me a little while to realize it, but I love Michael Curtiz movies. Likewise, I love The Apartment, The Fortune Cookie, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. I'm a Billy Wilder fan, so it's a lovely moment when you realize things that you enjoy are all done by one person. So it gives you a chance to go and check that stuff out. I mean, I used to follow characters when I was younger, but I think maybe when I was about 25, I shifted to creators. So I knew if I picked up a Garth Ennis or a Warren Ellis comic, awesome. There's a 90% chance it was going to be good, which is it's a great moment when you realize that.
I mean, you discussing earlier, I came across Garth Ennis's Hitman because of the quality of the Batman comics I was reading. I was a huge Chuck Dixon fan, still am a huge Chuck Dixon fan.
Yeah,
and Chuck Dixon, Alan Grant, Doug Mensch was putting out all these wonderful Batman comics, and like you said, when you are reading quality, then it's sort of I want more.
Yeah.
So suddenly just becoming this Batman guy that just got the Batman stuff. Then it sort of pushed me into let's check out some Superman then, because I'm really enjoying the Batman.
Yeah.
Let's get his antithesis. Let's get his mirror image. Let's go with Superman. And then, of course, you come across Brett Breeding and Dan Jurgens and stuff like that. And you're just like, holy shit, these guys are incredible. Absolutely incredible. So then that pushes you to look to other side. Then I started picking up Green Lantern. Then I started picking up even going to Legion of Superheroes. Just really sort of branching out from that initial pinpoint of Batman because the quality had been so good.
Legion of Superheroes is the mark of a level 11 nerd, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
That's the kind of nerd to like Legion of Superheroes. It's
even I would bully those guys. I would bully the Legion fans.
But that's where it got me. And then of course when you're looking at Batman, then you start to look at everything that surrounds Batman, Catwoman, Azrael, blah blah blah. And then when you hear that Hitman is going to be set in Gotham, I'll check out this Hitman from Garth Ennis, and then suddenly, wow, this Garth Ennis stuff is amazing, which then pushes you to other Garth Ennis stuff, and then he goes off and does The Boys and all that kind of stuff.
I think every decade has its moments. There's like when I think of 70s comics or 60s comics, there's 1,000 great comic books appear in my head. You know, so 50s comics, 60s comics, 70s comics, 80s comics for me quintessential because that was my time. I'm 10 years older than you, you know. So that stuff for me is the golden age, really, you know. 90s comics. What I think is missing over the last 10 years is I don't feel an identity at Marvel and DC. You know, I think the way that I know what an 80s Marvel or a 90s Marvel or a 2000s Marvel looks like, you know. I think it just needs to rediscover its identity. I think we need some new creators. I mean, it is weird that the guys are my age and older for a lot of the part that's there. I think we need some guys in their 20s coming in again and shaking this up. Like, I mean, I was 29, 30 when I started at Marvel, and I handled it differently from the guys who were the generation before me. You know, so there must be some 29-year-old guy right now who's thinking, my God, when will these guys get off the stage? You know, I've got these ideas, I can come in here and fix this, you know. So we need to see those guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say, unfortunately, the younger creators that are being at least pushed by the mainstream are just pushed on an ideological or superficial basis. Whereas before, like when I was reading detective comics in the 90s, I'd see Chuck Dixon, Graham Nolan, and I, in my head, had already made them 55 years old. You know, and I didn't know that Graham Nolan was like 27, 28 at the time, you know? They were that's just the way that I perceived that you had these mature people that knew what they were talking about, knew how to construct these things, but were putting together these great pieces of work.
Sorry, guys, I'll be 2 seconds.
Sure.
The Chinese has arrived.
The Chinese food?
The Chinese food has arrived for the film, which means time is against us. So let's see if we can grab a couple of questions.
I'm good. I've still got another 10 minutes at least. That was me just letting my kids in. I knew they were
all right, okay. We thought the Chinese was here. If I just grab a couple of questions for you from the chat then, Mark, so I want to involve the chat in this. We got one from Andre Medelsky with 100 checks. Says, dear Mr. Millar, very formal. I never knew authors' names, but I see your titles so much I love. Your work uplifted me through countless times. I cannot say anything less than thank you from the bottom of my heart.
That's the best thing you can hear.
Yep.
Well, exactly. Igor, with a surname that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce for want of destroying it, with a 10 Brazilian, says, glad to see Mark Millar with you guys. Much love from the Ripperverse crew. Question for Mark. If you could go back and change something in one of your stories, what would it be?
That's a great question. I mean, my answer to everything, because I think about this all the time, and you've seen Back to the Future too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know when you go back and you mess with the time stream?
Yeah. Messes other things up.
Biff's the president and everything, you know? So I think even stories that I'm not happy with, I wouldn't change anything just in case there's a domino effect through the rest of my stories and I end up not doing what I'm doing now. You know, like I'm so pleased with my life that I don't want to mess with it. You know, I'd be terrified. You know? No,
good answer. That butterfly effect can happen, you know.
And sometimes your bad stories have to happen, you know, because then you figure out what doesn't work and then you learn from it. I mean, I think even negative experiences are really important. Rejections are important. These are all who make you the guy you are, you know.
Shame DC and Marvel never learned from them.
Being arrested.
No, I'm an optimist. I think it'll be great. You know, I really do. And here's a weird thing. Like, I know that you guys might disagree with this because I've seen the podcast, but I don't think there is an agenda within the companies. I really don't, because I know the people. And I think what it is they're just desperately trying to think of something to say and something to do, you know. And I think it's actually a lack of imagination, you know.
Well,
so
I was going to say, if there is no agenda,
yeah,
I will say, I don't think that. I know you know these people way more than I do, but just from somebody who's been collecting the product for a long 30 years,
yeah,
you know, I'm not some, you know, Wikipedia comic guy. 30 years of collecting comics, and I've seen a lot of stories. I've seen some incredible stories, and I've read some mess stuff, you know. But even when you read the mess stuff, it's just like, okay, you know, this one missed with me, but it doesn't matter. And then he go on to the next one, and then he read a Jeff Loeb or something, and Jeff Johns. And you're like, well, this is fucking great. But certainly in the teens, the 20 teens, I've not just seen like you got an ebb and a flow. I've seen a boom, like a just off a cliff, and not just in terms of quality, but the way the characters are written, the actual stories involving the characters, the way that the characters behave, and there doesn't seem to be any. The way that I would personally describe it is, to me, these franchises, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, whoever it may be, when you put them in the hands of different creators, they're there to be trusted.
Yeah.
You know, you got to trust these creators with these characters to produce something which is akin to the core values of the actual character itself. Whereas, you know, by all means, have your own little spin on it and your own little whatever. Bring that freshness to the table. But I'm seeing the creators just inserting, and we're getting way too much my current ideological opinion, and we're not getting what the character stands for. We're not getting what the character in a heroic sense is portrayed. We're not getting any of that. That seems to have been lost. And instead of getting a Superman story written by author, we're getting an author story that stars Superman.
Yeah, in this time where Mark, you said that like DC and Marvel don't have an identity. We're in the most identity obsessed time ever.
Yes.
And they don't. And I think a lot of that, this is just what I perceive as a paying customer of these products, is it's a trickle down agenda, to use trickle down economics. I don't think everybody's involved in it. I think there's massive incompetence in the industry. It's also very risk averse, and it's just easier to go one way. And one of the biggest problems in the industry has been the writing. It's not good, but it's also just basic customer service, which is the one thing that's alienated the most comic fans that I've seen. And that is over politics. Now, whether it's some guy with his puppet strings. No, I think it's a few well-placed HR people, middle management people who are pushing things a certain way because they think it's the right way. I don't. And I think that's what a lot of fans perceive right now. I don't think everybody, I hear from people all the time, Mark, who can't come on the record, unfortunately. Thank you for having the balls to be here, though. I appreciate that. Who say, hey, I agree with you. There's something wrong, but I can't say anything or I'm going to get fired. That's mainly at Disney. I haven't talked to anybody at Marvel Comics, but that's mainly at Disney. And that's an atmosphere of fear. And that is part of an agenda. If you're not letting other people speak openly, now certain people can, Mark Millar can, but some people can't. Some and these are like directors and producers. These aren't just like, you know, and I don't want to call them, you know, these aren't below the line people who work post-production or anything. These are people who have worked on projects and then call me later and go, oh my God, the thing I worked on is just a giant piece of shit because they noted it to death with all these changes. I can't say which show it was. I wish I could, but you could probably guess. It's a D+ show from Marvel that came out in the last 2 years. I'll just say that. But it is there. And we just need 1,000 more of you who just want to make good stories. That's a good
see from the inside. Now, this is the least interesting thing I could possibly say, but it's the truth of it is, I mean, I work with these guys in different studios. I'm great friends with loads of people at different studios. And one thing I've really realized is everyone's just trying not to get fired, right?
Yeah.
So their number one thing is to try not to get fired. So what they're trying to do is come up with the next thing, right? And what I mean by that is, what looks at the moment like it's an agenda because you see a lot of things at once that, you know, follow a similar beat, is really just people trying something different, right? So, and it didn't work, you know, but I don't mean that in a mean way, you know, it was just like, for example.
No, I was thinking a mean thought, that's all.
Yeah, I see like so many people, I mean, you guys talk about it, I've seen so many podcasts talking about like what's happened with the Star Wars movies, in particular, the Marvel TV shows, the Marvel movies. And I think everybody feared there was a conspiracy of sorts, you know. But I know just from talking to these guys, they were just like, okay, what the hell do we do now? Like how? And it's not evil. It's actually just lack of imagination, right? So they're like, okay, what do we do next? Because I've sat with them while they talk about it, these guys, and it's like, right, can we maybe expand this base by moving into this demographic? And, you know, do you think this looks old-fashioned? We've been doing this for 20 years. Should we be trying something new? And they actually have the best of intentions, and just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I know I'm friends with all the studio heads, most of the studio heads, and I know there's no call saying it must be like this. You know, it's like that. It doesn't happen. They're just trying things, and see when those things don't work, they all don't work at once because everybody was doing the same thing. And then, my God, right now, Top Gun Maverick last year made so much money that everybody's like, we need to do more stuff about cool guys doing cool things, you know. So, but it takes like 3 years before you see that actually coming through in cinema and television. So, like, there is no evil there, you know. Like, people are honestly just trying their best and failing.
I think right.
But they're trying to come up with something that they hope everything they do, they hope people will like. Where I do think is a problem is they've got to not go on and antagonize a fan base. I think that is insane.
Oh.
Like, that would be key.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would do if I took over like a Marvel or a Disney, number one, I'd put a complete fucking ban on anyone communicating and on social media. That would be the number one thing. But the thing that you mentioned, that there's no plan. There's only so many times that we can hear that a character's been turned gay. Like you know, you got Tim Drake Robin, possibly the best written Robin in terms of a character there's ever been. 30 years of Robin with incredible storylines and a very clever relationship with Stephanie Brown, for example, dynamic. And then somebody comes and goes, let's just turn Tim gay. How do you think that's going to work? Just from a pragmatic point, if you want a gay character, bring a gay character in. Make an original gay character. If you want to bring that character into the Batman world, bring it into the Batman world. Bring it into somewhere. But taking established characters and then just going, we're doing this with it now, and then not thinking that's going to have a blowback on the people who've been, wait a minute, I've been reading this guy for 30 years. And then suddenly you just want to intrinsically completely change the character. And it's not just Tim, you know, with Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Everyone's got a gay sidekick now. It's just like, how many gay sidekicks can we have?
But here's the thing. Remember when you read Watchmen for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And like I read it when I was 17. And I remember they were talking about two of the characters in it from the 1940s. There was Doc. I can't remember what it was called now. I can't believe I'm blanking on this. But two of the characters, Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis, I think it was. There was a little subplot. They were in a gay relationship. And that was really interesting. Like, because you'd never seen this before. Like in superhero comics, you knew gay people in real life, but you didn't see anybody in the Justice League who was gay, you know? So it's like, it's kind of cool to do something you haven't seen before. And the way all trends work is that the guys who do something cool, everybody jumps on and they copy it. So I remember when Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and everybody were drawn.
They got him.
You know, you had like 10 years of Atlas do.
Oh
no.
Marvel have got you. They've got you, Mark. They've come in. The internet line.
I think these lines, the Alpha writers, really good storylines. Some actors are gay, you know. It's just part of life, you know. And then 3 years later, guys who are less good, I'll get a good copy those guys from 3 years. Because a lot of things appear at once, but I think, like I say, it's just bad comics, you know. It's lack of imagination, like just thinking of new thing. Alan Moore did something I'd never seen before in 1987, so you should just do what he did. Try and do something we haven't seen before, but for 2023.
Now we've seen it to death.
Yeah, it's time for another change. and
but then that trend will change. I remember when Superman had a mullet and everybody hated his mullet, you know, and then Superman's mullets, you know, it's,
and they cut it off
suddenly
when you cut it off for the wedding. He cut it off on the wedding issue, you know. But I didn't. You could make the mullet look fine. But...
I love comics being about anything and being unrestrained and everything, you know, and you know, there's certain books aimed at certain audiences and everything, you know, but like, but I love the fact that we're in a world now where we can sort of do anything, you know. Like, imagine what it would have been like to work in a more restrictive time. It is cool that we can do this, but to me, the primary thing of a writer is to make it interesting, and if it's not interesting, that's the problem. And I'm bored to the point where I don't buy anything hardly anymore, and I just want to see interesting comic books again.
Hello, you know, Gary, he used to have a comic shop. You know, I got 20 long boxes, you know, whatever. But the problem being is they think because they can do what they want as new on an existing character, you have to accept it because it's existing character.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any proper thought about the process. You like Superman, ergo if I do this to Superman, you'll like it because it's Superman. It doesn't work like that. And if you want to try something new and different, however you want to categorize that, you can't necessarily expect a mainstream audience to go along with that. Because as much as they like to characterize us in boxes, we're not. We're all individuals, and we all have our own identities and our own lives, etc.
I think these comics have been written by people who never read the characters.
I 100% agree.
I don't think they read the books.
Agree.
And I think that's an industry-wide problem. Well, certainly a Marvel and DC problem.
Yeah.
It's people who have no real interest in the characters, and sometimes
they'll say it.
You know,
I'm a big fan of Tim Drake. I always thought he was gay. What? You know, how did you get that? You know, from reading Tim Drake with Stephanie Brown for 30 years.
But I do think failure is important as well. You know, like the fact that Marvel hasn't really put out anything good in movie terms in 4 years or television.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I watched the other week. I was watching with the kids Spider-Man: Homecoming, right?
Yeah,
and I was startled how good it was. Right, that movie came out in 2017.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's filled with so many great moments, right? It's actually a really good film. I'm a Tobey Maguire guy, right? But at the same time, I was surprised how much I loved the movie, and my kids loved it, right? And then I was flying back from Oman. I was out in the Middle East a few weeks ago, and I was flying home and had a big long flight. And I watched Batman Begins, and I was shocked how great that was, right? It's a 11 out of 10 movie. It's awesome, right? And we had it so good for so long, you know, that there was real auteurs, like people who really knew what they were doing, were making these movies, like proper directors, proper writers, you know. Yeah. And then what they did was they overextended, you know, they were doing 3 of these a year, and then suddenly they're doing 3 a month. You know, I mean, it was preposterous, the amount of product out there. It just became like making baked beans. But what I think is important, though, is that you got to trust the market. The market has recoiled like crazy from what they've all been doing for the last 4 years. The numbers are horrific. And what's happening is a course correct, you know. So don't think right now there isn't meetings at Marvel Studios where they're like, how the hell do we fix this? You know, like, you know, every day must be terrifying in there right now. You're like, everybody can be fired at any moment. And that's healthy. But that's healthy because
you're absolutely right, Mark. I mean, this is, and these companies aren't going to turn on a dime. The earliest we heard Disney's going to turn is 2026. Add a year to that because of the strike. And this is this is where people like you and Eric can come in and really make some waves while they're figuring it out. And that's usually where independent movements come from. While the big, you know, like that's the same way with, you know, publishing, with music. Even with, you know, film in the 70s, they had this big paradigm. We're in a paradigm shift now for the entertainment industry as a whole across the board. And this is a time where the independents can come out and take advantage of the corporations dragging their feet because they just can't move fast.
They'll just copy us. 5 years on, they'll copy what we did and make the money.
Exactly. Right?
But I mean, and I say this with all the, you know, greatest respect for Eric July in the world, you know, 2 years ago, who's Eric July? You know, in terms of you know, the amount of marketing and advertising and everything that you have with these major companies, DC, Marvel, all the writers, creators that have been at those studios, massive, massive numbers. You got some guy who was in a conversation with this guy on a stream one day, and he just went, "Hey, Gary, should I just make my own universe?" And go, "Yeah, go for it." And now look, this guy brings 3.4 million with Isom 1. Isom 2's just gone past 1.9 million. Still plenty of time left on the campaign for it to go soaring over 2 million. And this is a one guy with a vision. If one guy with a vision and a direction that he just wants to put out something entertaining to the audience, doesn't want to politicize it, just want and can do that sort of insane number. What could a DC and Marvel do if they got their asses into gear with the sort of talent which is not under their banner at the moment that should be?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still of the belief that people like Chuck Dixon should still be writing comics for bloody DC today, or at the very least,
Captain America. Chuck's Captain America would be amazing.
Well, just even at the very least, if Chuck didn't want to do that, at the very least, be a figurehead for writers to go through. You know, actors one of those sort of figures. But they could do something astronomical with their brands. I had an interaction with Jim Lee during COVID, and it's an interaction which left me probably made my decision to give up on DC. And the COVID was going on. Comic shops were tumbling down because they weren't getting the sales. Period. Never mind because of Coof. They just weren't getting sales because of the collapse in the market. Because nobody was buying mainstream comics anymore. And Jim Lee's there drawing an image. And, you know, you might be good friends with Jim Lee. But he's just there drawing an image every day and putting up, I'm doing 60 images for 60 days. And then we're going to give these to charity to be auctioned off. And the charity itself didn't just cover comic shops. It covered bookshops. So the cut that a comic book shop would get from the auction of one of his comics was literally cents, a couple of cents.
Yeah.
And so I interacted with Jim Lee. Fair enough. He actually responded to me. And I said, Jim, I said, don't you think it'd be much better use of your time for you guys to make a comic for the comic shops to sell? A special Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman together in a special comic for comic book shops to rally sales for comic book shops. And by the time you drew that and it was written and drawn that would be the similar sort of time period to all these little drawings that he did. And his response to me was, well, don't you think an anthology of my drawings is going to sell? And I was thinking in my brain, no. I mean, it will sell at a small number, but it certainly wouldn't sell the number of a comic that was written by Jeff Loeb, drawn by Jim Lee. Get the Hush team back together, or whatever, you know, however you want to do. But get that together, and you give that to a comic book shop to sell as this special, you know, that would sell way more than any put together art book. But I was thinking, this is a guy who's editor-in-chief. This is the guy who's head honcho and allegedly calling the shots at DC. I thought,
but I think this is symptomatic of whenever a bigger company owns your company. Like I think there's something amazing about you living and dying on your publishing, because it really focuses you on your publishing. Think about it this way: you walk into Starbucks and you strike up a conversation with the guy behind the counter, and he's not massively engaged. It doesn't matter to him if the shop makes a lot of money that day or it just makes an okay amount of money. He's getting paid. Whereas if it's a little coffee shop that one guy owns, you know, a family business, they do everything to get your business and get you back again the next day. And I think this is what happened to the big two in general. You know, like I say, they weren't too bothered whether they made a lot of money or a little amount of money or even no money, because they were subsidized by other divisions within the company. So no disrespect to Jim. I think this is across the whole big two. I think that they're not that worried about sales. It's everybody's thinking about their individual jobs. And I think people are just trying to keep their head down. What I love about the Joe Quesada era at Marvel, where I came in in the year 2000, and Marvel, they were filing for Chapter 11 the year before, you know?
Yeah.
And what was amazing was that we really felt this was going down, right? We thought, there's one last chance here. Like, this company can't even afford to give you a free coffee when you come in for a meeting, right? And like, we thought there's one last chance to actually make this work. And every single sale counted. Everybody was firing on all cylinders. It was like 50 Eric Julys, you know, like everybody was thinking, how do I make my little thing work? And if you light up your own patch, you've got an illumination, you know, suddenly everybody is working in the same direction and you have something awesome. And within 2 years, Marvel was on the front of Fortune magazine, and I think it was the 2002 business success story. They turned it around. Bill James and Joe Quesada, between the two of them, and Avi Arad over on the film side, they turned that company around. And it can be done so quickly, but if that was part of a massive organization worth 160 billion like Disney, would those profits have mattered? Not really, you know, and I think that's the problem. In some ways, that's would be pretty good if everything was a little bit more autonomous again. You know, that's what I'd like to see happen at Marvel. And also, I think they would be braver as well, because these guys don't want to do a storyline that Twitter goes crazy over and they all get fired. You know, Stan Lee did really interesting stories. Back in the 60s, Stan was doing stories about LSD, you know, drug addiction, race relations, you know, all these things that were kind of taboo subjects. You know, you have to remember, like, Kirk kissing Uhura was banned in some places. You know, so Stan Lee was writing stories about race relations for children at a time whenever Kirk wasn't allowed to kiss Uhura on TV. You know, so like, comics has always been at its best when it's at its most dangerous. I don't know if Disney's a dangerous company.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at more along the lines of, if you lose your comic book stores, you ain't got a place to sell your comics, because what you're going to do, then go direct to the customer, the people you've been telling to fuck up for the last 10 years. I mean, when you get like idiots, I shouldn't really say it. They might be friends of yours, but to me, they're idiots. Sort of like a Dan Slott who says, no, our customer is the comic book store, not you. That is the most stupid thing that you could possibly say. The most lack of awareness thing that you could possibly say, because without your customer buying it from the comic book store, you ain't got any customers, period. And so the comic book stores are going to fail. So I'm looking at it just from the perspective of... Sorry, go on.
For me, I think you look at more successful industries and you think, okay, what do I do? What are we doing wrong that other industries are doing right? And I think, like, the publishers and the distributors and the comic book store are one thing, really. You know, they all work together. Like, they all fail without the other. And they're trying, the people they're trying to seduce is the customer. They should all be working. How can I make this as easy as possible and as attractive as possible for the customer? But I just think there's some very simple business lessons that the industry needs. Like, I do feel that before I got into the industry, it felt like it was being run by grown-ups and guys who had a real interest in publishing. And I do feel we need that, but it can happen quickly. I mean, I remember Marvel was a mess just before I came in. It was a total mess. And then Marvel came in and it was revolutionized. Bill James was amazing. And I know he gets a lot of flack. Bill's a great friend of mine to this day. I speak to Bill all the time. Bill James is a genius, and he had the most amazing contracts across corporate America, who were very interested in the Marvel brand once Bill went into the room and started talking to them about it. And what we need is leaders like that. You know, we need people in charge of the company like this that go in and sell Marvel and DC to the wider world, not necessarily in a movie way, to sell those comic books again. Because, I mean, Marvel in particular has been the cornerstone of Hollywood for a quarter of a century. I mean, that's mind-blowing. It's the amount of profit compared to any other aspects in Hollywood, but the comics hasn't capitalized on that. We need somebody that will come in and shake that up and make that happen. Because my aunts know who Tony Stark is now. Like, when I was a kid, I was the only person who knew who Tony Stark is. My aunts know who Tony Stark is.
Yeah.
and he used to be a B-list hero. It's crazy.
It is crazy, because I even got to know him pretty well before Iron Man came out, like games and stuff. I was just like, this guy's really cool. They should make a movie about him. And they did, and my God, they cast it well.
Yeah, I think Teen Titans is a franchise that it feels to me like, you remember in the 1990s, like all the X-Men fans, you know, they had the X-Men cartoon and that paved the way for that X-Men movie and everything. Teen Titans, I think, is DC's most valuable franchise. I think it's, I mean, my kids love Teen Titans. Like, the cartoon shows are awesome, you know, both versions of the cartoon. The brand recognition is enormous, you know. So
Mhm.
there's some real gold that's not been properly mined yet, I think. Like,
DC's X-Men.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, man, George Perez. Fuck.
It's the best. I mean,
Um,
here Marvel, 1980s DC, Crisis on Infinite Earths, everything George did was gold. I mean,
Yeah.
everything he did was gold. See, whenever he died, I remember thinking about him that day, and I went back and I just looked at his bibliography, and I was thinking, my God, is there any artist with a better career than George Perez? Like, everything, even in his kind of older years where people normally tail off, George was still knocking it out there. I mean, it was great stuff. Everything he touched was an event. Amazing.
If I could ask a question, by like, I'm curious, as I assume full career writer, how do you feel about the sort of general industries with writers in terms of the skill overall over the past few decades? Do you feel there's been a decline? Do you feel the pool has changed? What do you think is something else that might be leading to projects declining in quality?
That's a really good question. I think everybody who's 50 always says it's declined, so like my natural instinct is yes, because I'm reading less, but then I remember there's some really good people through, like James Tynion, I think, is a terrific writer. He's 32 or whatever, just coming up, absolutely brilliant, knocking it out of the park. His independent books sell as much as Batman, which is incredible. And so there's always good guys coming through. But I think we like that period where I came through, I felt as if there was a big wide range of good people. Like there was a lot of good people all happening at once, and they were all happening in one place. My worry is I think they're maybe spread out a little too thin. I think there's a lot of really talented people, but they're at too many companies now, because there's all this hedge fund money has come into comics, and loads of fake companies kind of like starting up and that are running at a massive loss, but they're hoping to sell it as the next Marvel and everything.
Yeah.
There's all these companies out there. There's too many creators spread over, a finite number of creators spread over too many companies. But if all these guys were working at Marvel, DC, and maybe Image or something, I think everybody would be aware of all the good books that's there. You'd have really great writers working with really great artists instead of them being at different companies, So I feel the industry feels very disassembled to me right now. The secret ingredient, and this is old school, right? But the secret ingredient is you get a brilliant writer and a brilliant artist and put them on a brilliant character, and it just works.
That's a crazy idea.
It's nuts, but these guys, they're all off doing this stuff with hedge fund money and all that, and if you had a brilliant guy doing Green Lantern and a brilliant artist drawing it, that book's going to do over 100,000 copies. I just think I think it's going to happen naturally. I think this hedge fund money is going to disappear because they're going to realize no Hollywood companies coming to buy their company. The bottom's already falling out of that market. I can smell the instability. I can see the blood in the water here. So I think a lot of those companies are going to disappear. What my prediction is over the next few years is I actually think there's going to be a consolidation to the characters that people have heard of. Now, I've got this crazy theory. Right? The kids are desperate to watch this movie, right? So, but I'll give you this theory before I go. Right? Now, everybody hates this theory, but it's true, right? So, but what it is I think every 20 years or so, there's a 5-year window where people want new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just want to enjoy that new stuff, right? So what happens is, for example, Marvel was created in the early 1960s, and then people just loved those Marvel characters. They didn't need new guys. They had the Fantastic Four, they had Daredevil, Spider-Man, and everything. They weren't that interested in seeing new stuff 10 years later. There was a couple of things, Punisher, Wolverine, a few interest, Blades, but for the most part, that stuff was mainly created in a 5-year window, which roughly correlated with DC's 5-year window with the Silver Age revamps of their Golden Age characters. Between 1938 and 1943, the entire DC universe was created, really, from Superman through Captain Marvel and everything what we'd understand now as DC characters. And even 2008 to 2013, you had Kick-Ass, you had Kingsman, you had Saga, all these things that became mainstream indie hits. But then 1988 to 1993, you had a 5-year window where you had Hellboy, Sin City, 300, all these really great mass appeal, new ideas. And then people just want to settle down and enjoy it for a while. They don't need constant new invention. And I think we're in a period like that now. We've had a huge number of new characters out there, huge over the last 15 years. But I think people want a little bit of consolidation. And usually the industry gets rebuilt on those cornerstones of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk, those kind of characters.
Yeah.
So I think some A-list characters coming in for a few years, A-list writers coming in for a few years doing the A-list characters. That's going to bring people back into stores again. You know, I think characters you've heard of being done by brilliant creative teams is so novel. Like imagine Olivier Coipel drawing Justice League and Warren Ellis writing it. Like you would buy it. You would order it now if you heard that was getting made. You know, so I think we need 20 books like that for a couple of years. And everybody hates to hear this, but it's true. And when Marvel Comics does well for a couple of years, then we can expand and rebuild the industry.
You mentioned a little earlier about the development of social media and how it may have affected a lot of the ways people sort of develop skills, and maybe younger writers, even developing writers right now, it could. Do you think maybe that could disrupt that flow you expect to see, how social media works these days?
What it might do is distract people who would otherwise be great. You know, like I know a lot of my friends didn't bother coming into comics. They loved comics, but they went into video games. And I was like, guys, you could make a lot more money in comics. You know, like they thought gaming was going to make them more cash, and they thought comics was unstable. And I was like, if you're a big comic book artist, you're making $1,500 a page. You can make 10 grand for a cover. You sell your original art. You know, it's like it's not a poor industry, and that's even in not good times. So I always try and play up how glamorous the job is. It's an awesome job, right? Like,
dude, I saw Artsy Bear's Garden today. Bloody hell.
You only ever hear the bad news, you know? But like, but there's a lot of great stories in comics as well, like people who've had amazing careers and done really well at doing something they love. So, I mean, if I talk a lot in universities and schools, I go back to my old school a lot, and every kid who's interested, I'm like, do it. If an idiot like me can do it, you know, like go and give this a try.
Do it.
Well,
how much longer have we got you for, Mark?
Do you know, I think I know the takeaways here. I know what's impossible set up, and my children and their friends are sitting there. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this, because I remember liking this. Like Henry Cavill was really great in that movie.
He's great in it.
He's
my
so
favorite
funny.
Mission Impossible. I think it's brilliant.
Here.
Oh yeah, Fallout. I just watched it last night, and I was just like, God damn, this was a great film.
One of my pals was at school with Henry Cavill.
Oh wow!
And, I was talking to him. He's a new friend, the guy I've just known for a couple of years. And I said to him, "Is it true that Henry Cavill used to be overweight
Cavill.
when he was at school?"
Yeah.
You know, he always tells that story on chat shows.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, he was kind of chunky." You know, he wasn't, because Henry Cavill's like the most handsome man alive. You know, and I was like, "I don't believe you were ever a chunky kid. You know, no way." You know, but apparently he was. And that's what I love about him. I love the fact that he loves his Warhammer. And he makes his computers and all that, you know, like he's kind of like got our brain and Superman's body, you know. So.
That's good.
Massive fan of Geralt, of The Witcher, and here he is, dream role, and they managed to run him out.
And
well done.
But I love that he believes in it, though. You know, I love the fact that I think there's an authenticity to Cavill that I love him. I'll watch anything Cavill's in. I think he's great.
Same, yeah.
Mark, thanks for hanging for so long. We really appreciate it, man. It was great.
A total pleasure. Next time we're all at the same convention, we'll do it with some beers as well. You know.
Well, maybe not Gary.
I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah. Gary will have a sparkling water and a slice of lemon and stuff.
Yes.
Mark, thank you so much indeed for giving up your time today. Big Game is out tomorrow in comic book stores. Is there anywhere else that you can guide people to picking it up?
You know, who cares about anything that's not a comic book store? Forget all the other places. You know, I hate digital. I hate all this stuff. Just stay away from the Russian pirate sites, and just go to your comic book store and pick this up. You know what? Like, if you don't, so I heard this amazing thing. I was listening to this economics podcast, and this woman said something that really haunted me. She said, "You manifest the world you want to live in with your dollars." And it's like, if you don't put your dollars in that comic store, it disappears. Like you create you create things by supporting things, you know. And your retailers are guys like us that love this stuff. And they've actually taken a big roll of the dice, and it doesn't make a lot of money, you know, but they love it. And if you love it existing, get in there and support them. Whether you buy my book tomorrow when we launch this big crossover, which is awesome, by the way, so do buy it. But like, or you buy something else. Just get in there and support your comics shop.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, Matt. Thank you so much. Enjoy Mission Impossible 6 Fallout.
I will do.
It's a great film.
All the best, guys.
All right, you take care.
See you, dude.
See you.
Soon. Get him back. Mark Millar, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Yep.
Damn, that was good.
That was good, man. That was good.
Woof. Time kind of flew. We only meant to have Mark for an hour. We got him for 2.
We got him for 2.
Buy one, get one free. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do that. There you go.
Buy 1 Mark, get 1 Mark for free.
There you go.
How you doing, boys?
Good.
It's all right, isn't it? It's good.
Doing what?
My
Hey.
internet's
I think,
holding
I
up.
think chat wanted me to talk more, but you have to understand, I want to listen. I want to hear what the man has to say.
My
I think we all
phone
wanna
was
do.
like vibrating this whole time. I'm like, what the fuck? And I think the maids are like cleaning the floors.
Oh.
So it's like, I'm like,
Oh,
what the fuck is going on?
You weren't picking up. We weren't picking up any sounds, so it's all good.
Yeah.
All vibrations, good vibrations. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've spoken to Mark. This is my first, I think, interaction with Mark. But I pre-ordered a big game based off the fact that I was buying his stuff and enjoying his stuff, and I think it's indicative of. I mean, just listening to the guy, then you can see how passionate he is. You can see how much he loves the industry, loves what he does, loves the fans. And is it any wonder that it's reflected in his work? Stroke beard.
Yes.
It's as if you do that, you can gravitate towards a customer.
And I can't
Ooh.
recommend this enough, dude. Nemesis Reloaded.
I got the issues, not the graphic.
I did too, but here was the problem I had. All my Mark Millar comics are in my storage. I don't even know where my storage is. My wife got the storage. My son took it there. I couldn't find it if I wanted to. I'm like, fuck. I've got Wanted. I've got all these books. Now I had to go to a comic shop and buy them all. So I did.
Nah, that's cool.
Write them off, and I read them again. And yeah.
Order date 23rd of June for big game. I also ordered it a month ago.
Yeah, I have no idea where my comics are.
I
some in my closet, but the rest of them, not a clue. So if you take me hostage, I wouldn't know.
Good man, though. That was good conversation. Good man. So refreshing. So refreshing to have a conversation like that. And very smart. Understood the industry. Can identify where he thinks things need to change.
What he's pulled off, that like every comic creator from that genre, like before the lunch pail guys like Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan, like he's achieved what every single one of them have wanted. And like Warren Ellis like wants TV shows, Grant Morrison wants TV shows, but nobody's been able to pull off what Mark Millar has been able to pull off. And I think part of it is he's such a nice, normal family guy, right? So he's probably very easy to deal with. And and he's also, had Matthew Vaughn make a couple of his movies, which helps a lot too. Dude, Kingsman is
not a bad person to have.
Kingsman is in my top 10 for movies. Like I fucking love that movie.
Full time.
So good. Yes. I fucking love Kingsman. It's so damn good. And like I was watching on the big screen and I saw like, man, it's got 2015 CGI, but it's like just little stuff. Didn't bother me at all. Didn't bother me at all. And I loved Kick-Ass. I love that the part of Kick-Ass takes place in a comic shop from Phoenix, by the way.
Yeah.
Comics that's not around.
And then part of it takes place in the back alley of a comic shop.
Okay. Back alley.
Heyo.
What's up? Carolyn is here.
Kara.
What's up, lady?
Not Kara.
I'm gonna see your boss in a couple days at Comic-Con.
Are you all set and ready?
Fuck no. I didn't even bring a power strip. That's why I've got like my camera is plugged in over there. Everything's plugged into so if I walk, I'm gonna trip over cords in here. It's like so retarded just because I forgot a power strip. I remembered everything. And one of my cameras died. I'm so pissed. But no, I'm ready. Comic-Con's gonna be pretty easy. Gabe El Taib gave us space, me and Garrett space at his booth Thursday. So it's day after tomorrow. If you're at con from 5:30 to 6:30, I will be at that booth. I was supposed to hang with Chris tonight, but I can't because I got work and mom stuff to deal with. I was going to see Oppenheimer tonight.
I'm going to see Oppenheimer on Monday.
I heard it's good. It's going to be a crazy trilogy, man. That is going to be one crazy trilogy. The Atomic Verse. Chris Nolan's The Atomic Verse. Oppenheimer.
Is Barbie set in the same universe, or is that a spin-off?
It's a spin-off.
Barbieheimer.
It's the result of all the atomic fallout.
No, I'm not gonna watch Barbie. No.
What if it's good as?
I have tickets to fucking Chris. Chris is like, I'm going to Barbie. You gotta go, dude. My motherfucker.
No way I'm seeing Barbie unless a bunch of people I trust say I should see it. That's the only way that happens.
I'm going to laugh at it, hopefully, because I
don't think I could drag my mates, and I am certainly not going to a Barbie movie on my own.
Why not?
Well, what looks worse, going with a bunch of your bros or going on your own?
Yeah, I don't even.
I would rather people think, oh, look at those bunch of gay guys going to watch Barbie, than a guy on his own going to watch Barbie.
Going down the Barbarian.
Barbarian.
I'd watch that.
Kind of.
God.
Hey, I mean, we're already up against the clock because that was meant to be an hour with Mark, and it was 2. So we've only got an hour left, so we really should do some supers. I have actually slipped the video out during this stream, which is part of the conversation. Hell yeah. Goddamn right I am. Which was about the craziness in the box office at the moment. With did you see CBR yesterday? Indiana Jones has made its budget back. It's broke even.
You know that was too retarded for AI. So an actual person.
Yes, an actual person thought they could run with that. So there was either just two positions there. Number 1, they are retarded.
Yes.
Number 2, they're a lying fucking retarded person.
I'd also, speaking of retarded access media, his name is Noah Belinsky. I did a video on him a couple of videos ago. He's the one who wanted a little more January 6th in his Indiana Jones. There wasn't enough anti-Semitism in his Indiana Jones to show how bad Nazis were. Turns out, big fan of the playground, this guy. Are you shocked? I'm not shocked.
Are you talking about the guy that was just like, people are just so nasty to pedos. Oh my god, they're just like got a kink. Yeah, he needs to hang that map on a wall against the wall.
As we talked about, in my office, I have some maps, and they can be hung. They can be pinned against the wall or hung from the ceiling.
Yeah, I find if you have too many maps, though, Gary, and you need some space, you could always dump them in the wood chipper.
The shredder, whatever. Yeah. So I guess he wrote an article about Sound of Freedom, calling it more QAnon stuff, and then people looked into him, and oopsie daisy.
Looks like he wanted to look into something himself.
Yep.
Oh man! And are we surprised? Is this our surprise face?
That's my surprise face. Honestly,
mainstream media surprise face.
I was thinking it when I looked the guy up, because that article was so fucking dumb. It was an Indiana Jones video I did, and it was just on one article, and it was an opinion piece about like how Hollywood isn't basically doing enough to show that Nazis are bad. I think Hollywood's done a pretty, you know what? I criticize them as much as anybody. I don't think they've undersold how bad the National Socialists are. Okay. I don't think at any point in time have they been soft on them. They've been soft on communism and communists, but not on the National Socialists. Not at all.
Aren't they synonymous with the bad guys?
They are. I mean, they're the one bad guys who put skulls on their shit and everything. I mean, they weren't quiet about it. You know,
if you have to tell somebody that nuts is bad, then I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Think Hollywood's doing enough?
I think Hollywood's doing enough to drive people away from watching their movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Mission Impossible 7, okay, domestic, not great, but internationally, 155 million internationally.
I think it'll perform kind of like No Time to Die did and previous Mission Impossible films, and it'll just have legs.
Yeah, I do.
Does it hit a billion? I don't know, 800, 900 million. Could very easily just throughout the summer, especially since what do we got left? Oppenheimer is not going to do well. I mean,
it's not going to do. Yeah.
It's 3 hours long. It's a biopic.
R-rated.
It's R-rated. Barbie will probably do well. I don't fucking know. Don't care.
Probably. I don't.
But
I have no idea about Barbie. Honest to God, I don't know if it's going to do. Like they're projecting like 110, 120 million.
But I think, we saw early signs with this with even Guardians, which ended up doing well, but it didn't do well as its predecessor. Even not adjusted for inflation, it did not do as well as Guardians 2. It had a soft first weekend. It legged it out for the summer. They put it on digital. It probably could have done better if they didn't put it on digital, but rated R for radiation. Oops. Wait. There. I forgot. I'm using a different soundboard. There. I'm just going to go through all my buttons.
Yeah.
There we go. No, I think Mission Impossible will do fine for the rest of the summer because there isn't shit coming out after.
No, the audience that goes to see a Mission Impossible film doesn't go, "Ooh, I might see Oppenheimer instead. I might see Barbie instead." That's not really. I don't see much crossover there. So I'm sure
what's hilarious, Mahler, is we had this fucking glut of movies over the last 3-4 weeks. We just have movie.
Yes,
be a desert for the next.
I don't think I've been to the cinema as much as I have in the last few weeks than I have in the last decade.
I've been to the cinema a lot.
The pictures.
Did you realize that Marvel have just realized that nobody has a fucking clue who Ms. Marvel is?
Oh, because they're releasing it on Saturday night at 11 on ABC. That's their big solution when nobody watches TV. I can't wait to. I'm going to do.
Wait, what is this now?
We're all going to do videos on the ratings, which are going to be absurdly bad.
They're going to be lower than the streaming service.
Absurd. Oh, okay, so Miss Marvel, Mahler, if you haven't heard, they are putting it on network television. For now, Disney owns the American Broadcasting Corporation, ABC.
Right.
For now. Looks like they're going to sell it.
They're pretty much saying every franchise is up for sale right now.
So they're doing now. They've done this in the past. They've put stuff on network television. They put it on Hulu, and I even forgot to put it in my next video. This has disappeared. They got caught fudging the fucking numbers for streaming by counting Hulu and broadcast versions of Andor and other show. Well, I think it was, and they did it with Andor, but it was 2 previous shows before Andor. And they got busted for that. That's basically lying to the advertisers, lying to the investors, and that's actually a crime.
Yes, that is it. Yes.
Yeah. So now they're doing it with Ms. Marvel, and believe me, as the strike goes on, you're going to see a lot of Disney Plus stuff go on network. They'll because they have no late night, so they can just put these shows in the late night slot, and they did it on Saturday. It's 11, right, folks? 11 p.m. Who the fuck's going to watch? I mean, I guess
their lowest viewed Disney streaming Marvel Universe show is going on ABC at 11 p.m. because they realized nobody knows who this fucking character is, and they have a film coming out with them in it.
Dude, these strikes are such a disaster. And you know what? Aside from the fact that the producers did respond about 3 or 4 days ago with what they're willing to do, and there's some pretty significant price hikes for actors and dancers and stuff. I think the fight, I think the WGA tried to downplay this, but the fight is over AI, of course, and residuals. But we know that the residuals really aren't there. They just aren't there. So this is a fight for a shrinking pie. This is about money. It's about fucking AI. It's about money. It's about a shrinking pie, and more people are now coming out and saying this just as we said from the start, it's a purge. There's half the people are going to be gone. So this is their last ditch effort. But it's so poorly timed because it's so different than it was back in 2008. And I think it's kind of, striking during its apocalypse. That's kind of, I made a video on that. But
well, like they're desperate for bigger pieces of pie, but the companies are like, we can't even give you that.
Well, yeah. How can you have a bigger piece of a pie that is
shrinking?
Is tiny? Yes.
Yeah.
You had the She-Hulk, one of the She-Hulk writers who looks like an Gary. Just Morley, imagine in your head a crazy SJW person. Just imagine. Right. That's what the writer looks like.
Yes. You mean
that is exactly what the She-Hulk writer looks like.
Yeah.
And they're complaining they got $398 in residuals for She-Hulk. And I'm thinking and I'm complaining. And I'm thinking to myself, what did you expect?
Well, it is crazy, right? Because if a bunch of chefs went on strike and we found out that all that they cooked was basically burned, rotten food, we'd all be like, well, what? I mean, what? And that's But there's never a sort of conversation about that. I've seen it like develop over time in different forums. It's like, do we actually have anything to say about whether or not we believe? Like, would you all be as in favor of them getting their equal share, so to speak, if you believed all of their writing was abhorrent? Just terrible, failing their jobs, and the projects they write for are all suffering monetarily, and all the jobs that are associated with those jobs that rely on a strong foundational script suffer as a result. Which, by the way, there's a lot of truth to that. Like all the guys that work to make stunts or the CG for any movie, and that's a whole other subject on its own, right? Getting right pay for special effects artists. If you have a shitty script and it tanks an IP, that's it for them. They're not coming back for the next one. It's not going to happen.
No.
Well, what about Christina Hodson?
Oh, Birds of Prey?
Birds of Prey writer, The Flash writer, Birds of Prey lost money, came out before COVID. It lost money.
And now she's in the
losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Lost hundreds of millions. Now she's in the writer's room. Just about to say. Now she's in the writer's room for James Gunn's DC universe.
Well, that's what the union preserves. Fucking pieces of shit like that. Because if you're a writer worth your salt, you're like, why in the fuck would you sign a deal where you're getting paid off of trust me, bro? That's essentially like the union signed you up for that deal to protect bad writers. There's no job on this planet I'd work at where they go, trust me, bro.
So was Bumblebee a fluke by her? Is that her fluke, Bumblebee? Because Bumblebee was a good film, I thought.
Well, you come across I've seen some people say like Mission Impossible 3, they love it as even the direction, right, from JJ. Meanwhile, they despise his work with Star Trek, Star Wars, and several others. And it's like, so did we just luck out with one of them? Or it depends on how you feel about Mission Impossible 3, of course. But
I think it's writing within your wheelhouse. That's what I truly think it is. I think with Bumble, I don't know. Bumblebee was fine. The opening was great.
It's fine. It was good. Yeah. It's good. I thought that's a movie. I enjoyed it. I didn't leave. Yeah. I thought it was the best Transformers movie there'd been.
Yeah. And JJ worked as a gun for hire on a Mission Impossible film produced by Tom Cruise, who's not going to put up with a bunch of shit. So JJ,
because it went through bad reviews.
And I believe Philip Seymour Hoffman carried a lot of Mission Impossible 3.
Fucking A.
The reputation that film has is boosted heavily by his people treat him as like the best villain ever. He's in it for like less than 5 minutes.
Yep.
It's ridiculously small, the role, but he takes up so much of the presence.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's got to do with the torture scene.
What I was saying is these writers for streaming have no idea what their the numbers are that their residuals are based on. That $396 could be fucking accurate for all I know.
Exactly.
And if you want to bitch about it, well, what if you find out that it's accurate? What if the WGA knows it's accurate? Because they have access to the numbers, but they're not sharing them.
Well, they're never going to share unless they're mandated to do so. They're never telling us what these streaming. And if you're not telling people what these streaming numbers are, what does that say? Because as one thing that we know about studios is they love to fucking brag when something's going well.
They do. So these numbers are extremely low, and we're finding that out now. That's actually starting to come out.
They've all been part of the party for the past few years of just fucking spending the shit out of money. Everybody all over the place, all these projects. The writers, of course, just rushing out projects as well. Because I assume you guys have seen the sentiment. It's like, hello, anything you enjoyed was also written by writers. It's like, oh yeah, of course, I understand that. I understand that there may very well be many instances of writers not being paid what they're owed. In which case, like contractually, when they've done their job well, that's awful, and that should be corrected.
Yes,
but it feels weird. I think I made this analogy on an EFAB, but I was like, if you've got someone who wrote something incredible and they're picketing because they were actually like screwed out of a contract through a lot of middle management and loopholes, and then you got someone next to you fucking working on She-Hulk being like, yeah man, we should be paid more. It's like, I don't know about that. That feels a bit, again,
like a good argument.
I just don't think people are ready to think of writing that way. I feel like it's binary. If you wrote something, you've done your job, you're a writer. It doesn't matter if it's really that good or that bad. It's not, as long as you've put word to page and submitted it, there you go, you're a writer. And to be fair, to an extent that's true. It's just that it would be nice if we had a bit more quality control, and then we echelons would pay, because some of the highest paid writers are some of the most like lowest reputation writers, like Kurtzman, for example, or people who, and like Loveness and Waldron, right, get attached to Avengers films. That's some of the highest paid writing jobs you could get.
These are people who were really good at gaming the system. They were not good at writing. So they were gaming a system where it was a big fucking party. There was a bunch of money that was being thrown around like they were printing it. Part of that is due to subsidies from the government. Like they were able to ignore movie theaters because we bailed them out so they could dive into streaming and kill the movie theater. And now they're going to kill it again. Yeah, I'm never going to fucking let that go. I think that bailout was fucking terrible.
It goes that phase 4 party they never wanted to end.
Yep.
It's over.
So yeah, it's over. I mean, and I do believe Marvel probably is sitting around going, fuck.
Yep.
What do we do now? Well, it's going to be 3 years. And guess what? Nobody's going to give a shit in 3 years. Nobody's going to care. People are already like moving to maybe action films that are much cheaper to make. But look, for Hollywood, they were taking shots at independent stuff, but it was with those prestige series that were being thrown on stars and stuff that nobody was seeing, right? So like, for every one good show, there was like 100 bad ones, when it used to be for every one good show there used to be like 10 bad ones.
The action movie rise seems very viable, alongside like you'll get some video game adaptations. They're going to get a lot of attention as well, judging from the future of the fucking Mario movies. They're probably going to make a shit ton of them.
Yep.
All the different projects that are coming for all different kinds of IPs that are all going to feel really new and fresh, because they're all based on it's going to be the comics again, I think, but with games. And it's going to be really cool maybe at first, and then it might go through the same cycle and depress the shit out of you. Welcome to that. Wouldn't that be fun for you, to go through all of that again, but with games?
Well, I mean, we've already started. I mean, you like The Last of Us. I thought it was absolutely abysmal.
We've been through it already as an era. Video game adaptations have been bad just from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, we've had Tomb Raider movies and shit like that.
I don't hate the first Tomb Raider movies.
The first one I think is okay.
Is okay.
I'm
assuming you were cool with the casting.
Oh yeah. Very much so. The first one's okay. It's not great. It's a 6 at best.
Sure.
But the second one was not good.
Because Resident Evil series, the 7 of them, that was a huge.
The first Resident Evil one was okay.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And after that, no, just
because of course it's a funny franchise to watch. We did all of our EFAP movies on it just because it's so funny, but never would I compliment it as an adaptation of Resident fucking Evil. But then of course
we had the Netflix show. Then we had the Welcome to Raccoon City.
You're already going into like the I was thinking more, like remember the Uwe Boll films? House of the Dead. Yeah, all the ones they kept giving them. I was like, why? He just makes horrible films. One after another. Loads of game adaptations. So nuts. Didn't he get
Dead or Alive? Remember Dead or Alive?
And Dead or Alive, yeah. Of course there was. Did you ever watch the Silent Hill movies? How were they received?
Not great.
Not great.
The second one is appalling.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is
I saw Uncharted.
mid.
Tom
Mid
Holland.
would be a compliment, but let's just say mid to be nice.
Fringy did not like the Uncharted movie. He said
The Uncharted movie was
mad.
terrible.
Yeah.
As a Silent Hill lover of the Silent Hill games, and when I say the Silent Hill games, I mean the first 4, because that's where it ends. No.
Well, and if
No.
we then flip to the rather than quality, if we go to engagement with audiences, it's always had a really bad history too. All of those kind of reflect that way. You get some like Mortal Kombat that did well with audiences, right? Enough to make another one. Resident Evil did really well with audiences. I don't fucking know why.
Well, it did. The only reason why the Resident Evil movies continued was because of the DVD sales.
Was it the DVDs? Okay, I thought maybe it was like international box office. or
No,
something.
it didn't make money at the cinemas. But it made a lot of money in DVD sales. Believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you made Monster Hunter. You made a Monster Hunter movie with Mila Jovovich.
I didn't.
I never saw that either.
No.
I have no idea how well it did. I got nothing on that one. But yeah, obviously Mario. Did Mario get close to 1 billion?
Mario did over 1 billion.
Over 1 billion. Jesus, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, my memory's a bit. Yeah, of course it was over 1 billion. But so yeah, it just feels like the money opportunities are much bigger.
Still, Master of the TDS was Sharon.
What happened to her costume?
I
Damn,
don't
that is
know.
that is muted.
That is some shit.
Is
right
this
there.
Zack Snyder's The Marvels?
No, this is worse. This is like CW trash, and this is their next movie.
Look at the costumes.
What the fuck?
Good God.
His fucking costume. You've got a fucking panda on the right hand side. You've got Zack Snyder's fucking lotus flower, and then you've got fucking projectile vomit on the far left. That's a movie. That's coming out of the cinema.
It is, yeah. That's going to be in theaters.
In a movie theater. In a fucking movie
And
theater.
you guys know for a fucking fact that 90% of the people who see this movie, and that's a small number already of the people who they're not going to know anything about these 3 characters.
No.
Not even Captain Marvel. They won't even know her.
And you have to see 3 Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, no way they recognize the
Monica
the left
Rambeau
and right
or
there.
Ms.
But
Marvel. Yeah.
the one in the middle is what they will call her at this point. They'll be like, she had a movie, didn't she? Was in the she's fuck.
She's in that Room movie with the.
I mean, I hope people see that one instead of fucking Captain Marvel. Jesus, it's so nuts.
Wasn't
man.
she in Fast and the Furious 8?
Apparently,
10,
she's okay in it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard she's all right in it.
Somebody said literal cosplay. No, cosplay is better than this by a country mile.
Cosplay is usually better than that. It's not.
Holy shit! Even Axel Braun's porn costumes are better than this shit.
I mean, it's because they're painted on, but that's not a complaint. That's not a complaint. Kenzie Taylor.
Is this some like story reason why her outfit's so fucking dark?
Yeah, she's got a. I can't say that.
No, I have no explanation.
I was going to say she's got to blend in.
Back on the budget on this one, obviously. Holy crap! Does that look bad?
That looks embarrassing. I mean, Ms. Marvel's costume is actually embarrassing. Never mind Monica Rambeau's.
Opening weekend predictions for the Marvels.
No.
Let's do it. Come on.
That's my opening prediction. I still think it's going to get fortified. I still believe it's going to get fortified.
It does not hit 100 million over the first weekend.
I would I would guess though. I'd guess 85.
85. Okay. 85.
I feel like this one is screwed in terms of just the math we can do, because it's like it can't come above Ant-Man. There's no way. Why would people go to see this more than Ant-Man? I don't buy that at all. And Ant-Man capped out at what, 400 mil? Something like that?
Yeah.
So what? And then Shazam and The Flash represent closer to what I believe this film should reach. Though this film has Marvel behind it. I don't know how much that's worth right now to the average audience member, the MCU. I don't know. Might push it above The Flash and Shazam, but honestly, I mean, like at least the Flash had Batman and the Flash. This has 3 people no one recognizes.
I say 60. Fuck it. I'll go out on a limb. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong.
No, I just got this feeling I don't think they can fortify it internationally.
Well, they're gonna have to film an end credit scene with Galactus and Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four.
Dr. Doom.
Fucking each other.
They'll have to do something to get people in. No, wait, no, we already got the post-credit scene. It's the Young Avengers.
Oh,
Kate Bishop. That's right.
Oh, the Young Intersectional Avengers.
Yes. Less than 50 says Red Dane. It is noted. Red Dane.
Wow.
And someone mentioned Sam Jackson's in it. It's like he can't even sell his own TV show.
Yeah.
No. It is bad.
Nobody's
By the way,
that.
I've not watched episode 4. I know what happens in it because it's fucking Twitter, but I say that as if I'm annoyed. I'm not annoyed at all to get it spoiled. But like, I haven't seen it. The next fucking episode's out tomorrow. And it's like, oh, it's such a slog. And it's like, why are you watching that? It's like, I want to know how much they screw up. I'm curious, especially because it leads into this film. That's what Secret Invasion is supposed to do.
Yes.
Absolutely fucking insane. And nobody's watching it. Nobody cares about it. They literally turned off all goodwill with that AI intro.
This film, I know. Right.
Hey, what? Repeat. Sorry.
AI.
The AI intro they had for Secret Invasion, it killed all the good faith Marvel fans had for them.
What was I watching when I saw that?
That was like Brie posting an NFT.
It was such a fucking mistake, and it's so amazing because you think like, could you have pulled it? Like, do you not see the sentiment for AI technology? People are just gonna shit all over you.
Okay, remember Hollywood is filled with people who thought NFTs were good ideas.
Yep.
So
there's some good news though.
What's that?
The good news is that Kira Nerys is up for pre-order on X06.
Who?
Kira from DS9.
X06? Oh, you mean 1/6 scale. Okay.
Yeah.
Not buying those right now. I'm investing in my son's future.
Okay, I'm investing in toys.
I know you are. Well, that's my son's future too. But I guess
okay, I've got a question. How does this film make money?
It doesn't.
I don't think it does. Nope.
It does not.
This is one of the straggling remnants of a thing they would have absolutely wanted to cancel for the past like 2 years, but they couldn't.
And
it was just rolling. It was too rolling. It was already going.
So now we know what's behind all the delays. They cast a director, right? Remember the $1 billion film. They didn't bring back the directors from the $1 billion film. They brought in a new director who doesn't like white people and had to scrub her fucking Twitter and has done nothing, by the way. Absolutely nothing. This movie's going to be dog shit, and I am here for it. I can't wait.
I can't wait. I mean, I can wait to see it very easily, but I can't wait to make the video afterwards. Because, look, somebody said the other week, do you go in with preconceptions? Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah. Everyone goes into a film with a preconception, whether it's a positive or a negative one. But I am with absolute doubt convinced this is going to be a mitigated dog shit.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But we've all got it on record. We've come out in favor or against projects knowing that they, typically speaking, weren't going the way we expected, but we still do.
Yeah. House of the Dragon was going to be a complete piece of shit, in my opinion.
I love how much there's people out there that try to use that against you and I, Gary. They're like, see, they changed their tune. You're like, once I saw it, yeah. My prediction was that Game of Thrones was in a horrible place. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, that was good.
Really good.
The funny thing is the reverse happened with season 8. I was like, from trailers and the first like episode or two, I was like, we got this, could work. We're okay. This could be great. They just got to do some easy things, get some things right, and whatever, we can work out the rest. And then it was like the biggest abomination in the history of TV. And I was like, okay. like gradually pissed off its entire fan base. Incredible work, by the way.
Outstanding work.
Yeah,
How they pulled that off.
because at least TLJ split the fandom. Game of Thrones just pissed off everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch House of Dragon because I had no interest in Game of Thrones after season 8. None.
Well,
Still don't. I'll be honest with you, still don't.
you know what though? Az would absolutely adore at least one of the characters.
Yep.
If all 3 seasons are good, I'll probably watch it. But I'm gonna wait until it's concluded.
All right,
At
we'll let you
best.
know.
Yeah. It's still being filmed because it's a British production and they're under different set of rules. So
Actually, a lot of people care. That's why they come watch the streams, dude. Hi. Clearly don't understand how interaction works. Go on.
I'm just looking at this picture a little more and just going.
Oh, this
Myron.
masterpiece
Wow.
of narration. Yeah.
How far we have fallen. It's over, Johnny. It's over.
Don't remind yourself of all the cool and badass things that happened in the MCU. There's no point. It'll just upset you at this point.
Even Mark recognized this since the end of Phase 3. They haven't put out a good film.
No, that went well beyond our circles. That's public knowledge now.
We're getting Echo this year. They're dropping it all at once. Remember?
They want people to forget that as soon as possible. They're gonna like that. I think they would be happy if most people forget about that there was even a thing called Echo. That they even see the fucking icon on whatever streaming services it ever touches after Disney Plus as well.
That's just getting dumped. It's just getting dumped.
Yeah,
that's it.
They're just dumping it and praying it doesn't do more. They've already done damage to Daredevil. It's fucking idiots.
Well, they've done more damage to They've done more damage to Daredevil in the marketing of the character before their shows even come out.
She-Hulk did intense damage already because it makes you think that that's going to be what we get for Daredevil. It's just that, but for a season.
Remember Netflix Daredevil?
I do.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good shit.
Pretty good shit. You can get the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray if you don't want to. You probably never get them on 4K, but
I mean, that's
sorry, it's Morley. 2 secs. Just going back to Christine Hodson for a moment as well. Remember, she also wrote Batgirl, which never saw the fucking light of day.
A historically famous movie at this point because it was stopped and given up for tax because it was so bad.
Yes.
Yep.
That doesn't happen very often.
And she's now part of James Gunn's DCU.
The plot leaked on Twitter 3 or 4 days ago. Drinker retweeted it.
Did you see the pictures of Firefly?
I have seen multiple pictures of Firefly that nobody will ever see.
What likelihood you put on that movie being leaked ever?
It's not done, so that's part of the problem. It needs
it's not leakable in the format it's in a way, like as a movie anyway.
Yeah, there is a copy somewhere. They didn't completely trash it, but there's effect shots need to be finished, and they still need to finish 10% of the film. So I said clips will probably get leaked, but not the whole thing.
Did we ever get to see? We never got to see that Wonder Woman pilot, did we?
I saw the Wonder Woman pilot, the Kelly one, the David R. Kelly one,
the one with Adriana Palicki, whatever.
I've watched it.
Have you? I've never saw that.
Yeah, it's a TV show from back then. It's fine. She's hot. It's not great.
Hot. She is hot.
Yeah,
very hot.
I've seen it. Yeah,
she dies in the first episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, she does.
Well,
spoilers.
Does she die? Does she as?
Yes.
Oh no, wait. Are we talking about the girlfriend?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
Jared
sorry.
Padalecki's
thought-
girlfriend. Yeah.
For a second, I thought you were talking about
Who's in the original?
the mum who didn't they bring the mum back in like the penultimate season or whatever?
Well, they and then he killed her again.
To be fair, you're not a supernatural character if you haven't died at least 5 times.
At least 5 times, yeah. I mean, they've died at least 5 times.
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah. So that doesn't fill me full. I mean, when your last 3 projects are $100 million plus loss, 200 to 250 million loss, and never even saw the light of fucking day, and you get promoted up into the writer's room of James Gunn's DCU, which has got Mark Millar's authority as the second movie, which was a Wildstorm product in its day anyway. It wasn't even no DC on Wildstorm, but you know what I mean? It's a Wildstorm product.
DC bought Wildstorm, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And he had some really nice offices in La Jolla. Yeah, Jim Lee did, but they had to sell.
Dean's died at least 1,000 times. Correct. I saw the images of they put Dean. They put Jason Ackles into the Batman costume. They were putting him into the Batman costume because he wants to put his hat in the ring to be Batman. Wait on that casting.
The only hope all that has is if they're all great. Those films, they have to actually be great.
But that's the thing. I mean, to me, it can only subvert my expectations as they're not particularly high.
Well, so the sad reality for me is I think that at best they're probably going to be good. I don't know that they'll ever be great. That's going to be tough.
Well, I was already nervous. Full stop. We all know that. I'd already talked about my reservations. But when you also hear that the new Superman Legacy film is going to star Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific, Mr. fucking Terrific, then I'm just like,
yeah. It just
and then
needs to be a Superman movie. It just need to be a Superman and Lex. Whatever.
Give me a Superman. Yeah, just give me a fucking Superman film.
Really work on the fucking script. All right, give it some redrafts and make it solid foundation.
Tight.
Make it a good movie.
Tight. Oh, shit. Oh, and Metamorpho is going to be in as well. Okay, great.
Yeah.
They're saying. And I know James Gunn said, well, if he's going to interact with regular people like Perry, Lois, and Jimmy, then we also have to say that he's going to interact with his superhero friend side. And I'm just like, how about he interacts with Lex and Lois and you keep it tight?
But I mean, that was their big mistake. We're going to start a shared universe over 8 years with multiple chapters because that's worked only once with Marvel.
And but he also said, Gary, I have never, nor will I ever set up other projects from my films.
Yeah.
And yet, what are you doing?
And what launched the MCU? The agreed upon from chat greatest film in the MCU.
Yes,
Iron Man.
Chat voted.
So
Iron Man, who had Iron Man in it.
You gotta start strong, and that was a really good movie to start on.
Keep it simple.
Do you remember when he ended it with saying "I am Iron Man"? That was the thing people were talking about for ages. Like, what a fucking cool way to end that film.
Hell yeah. Look for a lot of plans to change over the next few years. A lot of announcements to disappear or get outright canceled, or they'll just get the Rian Johnson treatment of, it's in development till he dies or we die.
Oh, that Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman films.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, haven't they already? Did they announce recently they're going to be rolling things back a bit? And didn't he say something like, we put out maybe a few too many things too fast. Overwhelmed.
Right. It's all Chapek's fault, by the way. This is all Bob Chapek's fault. Even though I got all this stuff rolling, Bob Iger. Yeah, he said he's rolling now.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Bob Iger the guy that bought all of it?
Where continuity has worked, somebody's mentioning Venture Brothers. You're absolutely correct. It's one TV show, that has 7 seasons that came out over damn near 20 years and had the same writers. Mission Impossible has worked because it had the same producer, had same star. James Bond worked because they rebooted the character. They brought in a new character over time, but it wasn't
same writers for entire
each
existence.
movie can be watched individually, and that was Sony's original plan for Spider-Man, which was we'll have Toby for 2 or 3 movies, then we'll recast, which is what you should do with what Mark Millar said earlier. Is there is a core group of characters that are Marvel and DC, and that's never really changed. We've added a couple here and there, but it's never really changed since the 60s and since the 40s, 30s and 40s in DC's case. You just recast. That's all you need to do. Like a Batman, we've had multiple Batmans, and the Batmen have been mostly well received.
Yeah.
And Superman has had great success in television over the years. So you just recast. It's that simple. But Hollywood thinks they have all the answers. And they're just a bunch of dumb people with a lot of money for the most part. A lot of incompetence. And now they're going to, the universe unfolds as it should. They all decided to go on strike during a horrible economic downturn and a paradigm shift in entertainment that they cannot keep up with, that they will not be able to keep up with. Okay.
Blue Beetle's out in a month.
No one's gonna see it.
Yeah, like I said, nothing's coming out. We got Blue Beetle, we got the Marvels, we got Aquaman 2. On the TV side, we got The Witcher Part 2. We've got Ahsoka, Girl Power, and then of course Echo gets dropped. So that's what we have for the rest of the year. Dune's coming out. That looks pretty good. Dune, but I don't think Dune's going to do that great in the theaters now. I'm completely.
Well, the first one
turning around. The first one didn't, but it was day and date. I think it'll do okay. Thankfully, its budget is lower, so it'll probably make money, but I don't think it's going to be $1 billion movie.
No.
But
I think 500 would be amazing.
Yeah,
but I don't see 500. I see you 4 at best.
Witcher Part 2. They're gonna do something canonical to regenerate the Witcher. So
they're gonna pitchfork him at the end of this. Aren't they? Yeah, they're gonna pitchfork him, and then when he comes back, I said this, didn't I? Ages ago. That's how they're gonna end Cavill's run. Cavill's gonna be pitchfork and die like he does in the books, and then he's gonna come back as discount Hemsworth.
And yeah, it's this canonical shit from these clowns who are writing it, who said this season was the most book accurate. It's like, oh fucking, they don't even know what they're talking about now. It's so.
Dude, well, they read that on Wikipedia, so come on, give them.
They did, yes, they did a Wikipedia accurate. No, it was a Wikipedia written by somebody from the Mary Sue. So that's.
So they couldn't even be bothered to read the Wikipedia article then. Okay.
Oh, and Doctor Who has a 60th anniversary this year. And
I've already forgotten.
I know. Remember the 50th? Remember the 50th? They had a season leading up to the 50th, with the big mystery of a missing doctor,
name of the doctor.
All this great shit. And there was displays like in Barnes & Noble and everywhere, including my store. I went to Barnes & Noble, and they have an end cap of Doctor Who, like 5 Doctor Who Blu-rays. 4 of them were from the first female Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, which were all 30% off, and nobody fucking touched them. So, yeah.
Was she not well received? Gosh.
No.
Big Chief couldn't even sell the 350 fucking 1-in-6s they made of her.
I know. Well, now they can't make figures anymore. So
No.
they remember they sent that letter saying at the what was it, the last quarter of the year we're going to start getting stuff. Did you know?
And then they put out another letter saying we've actually gone to another production facility. So now there's 2 production facilities going in China.
That's great. If I don't have something by the 3rd quarter, I'm canceling all my orders.
Yeah, there's 2 production facilities that are producing nothing.
3 years. But did you know it must be because they're a British company? There's an FCC regulation that I just learned about because of the Green Goblin Special Edition being late. They said Sideshow sent me an email.
Yes.
You have to accept this. And if you don't accept this by August 2nd, due to FCC regulations, we have to cancel your order and give you.
We have to cancel. Yeah, that's fine. Because of that, I actually did manage to cancel a couple of things that way. I want that Green Goblin because I want the Green Goblin and I want the Dark Arc. So I did accept with those 2, but there's a few where I was just like, no, I'm quite happy to let this drop.
Dude, I got to start hanging shit from my ceiling, so I just don't have room anymore. I'm done.
Well, I know some Rolling Stones or journalists.
Or Bloomberg.
Should spend all of the millions to get like a big thing in your background that's like a treadmill thing that cycles into the room but then goes into a storage room filled with every single hot toy, but then they cycle out one by one in the background, just seeing them all perfectly presented in a case, self-dusting, perfectly preserved, thousands of beautiful toys, and they all just cycle in while you're making your videos.
I rotate them in all the time. Nobody notices.
Do you?
Well, I do.
I've put all my PlayStation games are now in plastic protective sheets. All of them. All the dual cases and all the single ones are now dushed. And all of my Action Force, harded Action Force, are now in acrylic. Brand new acrylic boxes. Might have dropped a couple. These brand new acrylic boxes. That's exit there.
Yeah, those are good. That's I have my Indiana Jones, my proper Indiana Jones, not the redos, the Action Force. Look at that.
Baron Ironblood. Is he a pirate?
Sure.
Neat.
Well, it's funny you should say that because this is like a deep sea diver.
That's why I said that. Because it's got a little pirate hat over there.
Got a little pirate thingy on him. This is what we had before G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Let's read some supers because we've got about... Well, Mauler, have you got to go now, actually?
Pretty much, yeah. If that's a good place, probably jump out. I guess.
Yes.
Don't mean to leave you slightly early. Just got
What?
a couple things happening all at the same time. But it's been a pleasure, as per usual.
Anything you like to plug before you dip?
No. Not even. Good episode. Had fun. Always do. And you take care, chat, and see you guys next time.
Talk to you soon, brother. Oh, shit.
Hey, Gary.
Hang on. My camera.
Ooh.
There we go. My foot kicked my camera. Now it's okay.
OG Real BBC.
OG. It's OG, baby.
OG.
I don't know. Chris got my message. Hang on.
OG Real BBC. Right, let's do some supers until the end then. Chat, if you don't get your super read out this Sunday, it's probably going to be 2 p.m. UK time now because... Sure.
Can I just say, Chris Gore, I'm sorry. He invited me to Oppenheimer tonight. I said I could go, but I can't. I've got too much stuff to do. I'm going to be sitting in this hotel room and talking to my dear mother. But Chris is going to be signing. I'll retweet it on Twitter. He's going to have some signings, and he's got his some Blu-rays, some Attack of the Dock Blu-rays, and I am going to Barbie with him. So
I've already ordered mine. I spoke to my mumsy today as well.
How's mom?
It's good. It's good. She was in good spirits today. Yeah.
My mom is my mom. I love my mom.
It's like, when you come down to see me next, are you going to sort out my Netflix for me? Yes, I'll sort that out.
Why can't you sort it out from where you are?
I tried for an hour.
Because you're trying to walk her through. Yeah, my mom can't even work a cell phone. So yeah,
an hour. And I decided, I said, Mum, we're going to stop because otherwise I will kill you.
No.
So
my conversation with my mom is going like this when I go and see her. It's like, Mom, how you doing? Love you. Love you, Mom. Is there anything you need? Soap. Okay.
Nothing technical. Nothing.
No. And then I'm going to go. So you have two choices, Mom. Do you want to drive to Texas or do you want to fly to Texas? You're moving to Texas.
Nice.
That's how it's going. Yeah, it's ridiculous here, dude. It's they raised her rent, like they doubled it. They doubled her fucking rent in that place, dude. It's fucking insane, and it sucks. So that's part of the reason I'm here early, is to give him 30 days notice and tell Mom that she's moving to Texas, whether she likes it or not.
Oh.
So
she's moving to Casa de Nerdrotic.
It's going to be near Casa. She needs full-time care. She needs
okay.
She needs full-time medical care, but it's a lot nicer.
That's good. She's near. It's going to be near though.
Yeah. So I think that's she doesn't want to go though. But I don't care.
I don't want to go.
It's like, Mom, you don't go outside. You're not going to notice the difference. The air conditioning works.
Yes.
Hot where you are now. It's going to be hot there. It doesn't matter.
It's literally just a change of room.
It's a change of room. It'd
be lovely.
It'll be nice.
Yeah, if you don't get your super chat read out, folks, 2 p.m. UK time. I think I'm having to start a little bit earlier because that's meant to be a 2-hour show that's been going on for 3.5 hours every episode. Sunday afternoon tea with us, super chat square. But we'll try and smash as many as we can in the next 10 minutes or so.
Smash them
like Little Red, like Snow White smashes magical people.
Oh, dude, I was at the gym, right, and they had the Fox News on my machine, and they were talking about it on fucking Fox News. That picture.
Wow.
Fucking boomers on Fox News.
Both of my videos did very well.
Yeah, I heard they've been doing pretty well. God, drink her on now.
But I watched it. I actually went over to Rumble and watched the rest of it because and it was a great interview. I texted Drink afterwards when that good interview. It was good. Right, let's go. The Red Ranger has been a saucer for 2 months. Says, what's the best thing about Switzerland? I don't know. The flag is a big plus, though. Get out. Get out.
You don't have to get out.
Get out.
You don't have to get out.
Get out. There'll be no dad joke. Actually, it's not bad one, actually. Zbad 805 with the $20 says, hail the real BBC, as my little bro's birthday's coming up and he loves Transformers, but I want to get him the comics. But where do I start and what do I avoid? Thanks for any help you can provide. Oh, and hi, Mark.
Is he in America or the UK?
It was $20 super chat, so I'm reckoning USA. I would recommend just the Marvel Transformers comics from the 80s. That's it. I do have the new one, the Kirkman one that's just come out. I've got.
Is it good?
I am. This is Void Rivals. I gotta say, it's got. This is actually. I bought this because this is the variant cover that actually looks really cool. I gotta say that the initial cover. Look, okay. Let me know what you. But yeah, right. This is the issue number 1 cover. Okay,
let's take a look. Yeah, the other one's better. I don't know what the fuck that. What? How am I supposed to know that's a Transformers book? What the hell? Yeah, Transformers is of its time, dude. It's kind of like it works better on the 4-color palette. It just works better in 80s comics. So I think isn't there an omnibus, kids? Youngsters in the chat, is there an omnibus for the Transformers? Or go to your local comics convention.
Go to your local comic book convention or store.
Back issues aren't expensive. You can go for a relatively low price. You can go get all those comic books.
Yeah, that's Jetfire / Skyfire, whichever route you're going down with that.
Yeah.
But yes, I had a quick flick through, and it takes about half, if not over half, of the comic to actually see Jetfire in it. And it's two weird beings talking to each other. And I'm just like, this isn't selling. I mean, I haven't read it yet. Could be great writing. But I'm just kind of like thumbing through. I'm sort of like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck? Anyway.
Let's see what a complete run for Marvel Transformers. That's pretty expensive. I wouldn't pay that much. Okay, so there's
issue 16, because that's Graham Nolan's first mainstream artwork.
Yeah, there is a Transformers 1984 comics 1 through 80 high grade run, all first prints and extras for $1,500. I think you can get it cheaper than that. I'd say
that's nice though.
I'd say 800, and you can get that 800 by just buying them individually, unless you just want to save yourself some time. But I think part of the fun is making your little list, going out and getting them. That's me.
Hey, hold on. Let me open. Let me open this right. Because I did have a thumb through. Look, this is a Transformers comic. Where's Transformers? Nowhere. Void Rivals. It took me ages to find this comic because I had desperately trying to find out what the new Transformers comic was, and it just said Void Rivals, and I what? Okay, so this is it. This is the fucking comic for fucking half of it. It's just two fucking relatively humanoid things banging each other and looking shit, and it takes how many pages to get to seeing Jetfire? Well, they're not even pages aren't even numbered now. Okay, but this is the halfway pin. So we're halfway through the comic, and then that is the first look at Jetfire.
Oh.
But he's there, so you can just see him start to transform.
Did Kirkman write this?
Yeah, apparently so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Robert Kirkman is the... What did I say? I didn't say Robert Kirkman. Kirkman is the... Yeah. So I don't know what this is meant to... I mean, like I said, I've got to read it. It might be a great reading, but just thumbing through, I'm sort of like, what the fuck is this meant to be? What the fuck is this meant to be? But I simply got that because that's actually a good cover, I think. That's a decent cover. At least it's better than... What is that?
Oh, Art T. Bear is here. What's up, Art?
Is Art T. Bear in there?
He's in the chat.
What's up, Art? I love your garden, dude.
Nice garden.
Yeah.
Careful showing off your house. They'll find you. They'll like, I recognize that.
I will find you.
I recognize that flower and that crack in the sidewalk. We can triangulate that. And
yeah, the internet can do shit like that.
Yeah, that's why I don't put up pictures of my house.
But a really nice garden. I saw Auntie Bear's garden. I was just like,
that's
hey,
nice.
You know that comic book people can actually make money.
They can when they're good.
But that's the downside to today's crop. You got to be good.
Isn't that weird? I think like what Mark was saying is like there are people who are trying things and their philosophy is off, their personal philosophy. I was watching for my video that I may or may not put out. I was watching tons of Douglas Adams interviews.
Oh,
and you know what he said? He said, when I was done with the second Dirk Gently book, I was out of ideas. I burned through all of my ideas, and I needed more life experience to get more ideas. That's why You know, that's why he went off and did other things. Unfortunately, he died at a really early. Such a fucking tragedy, man. Died when he was 51.
You know what Grant Morrison did for New Ideas?
What?
Took more drugs.
I mean, that's a way to do it too. You know, I like, hey, as Bill Hicks says, all that good music you like, people were really
high. Yeah. Another name, maybe, with a $20 says hurt. So, who's excited for Snowflake and the other 7 other snowflakes coming to an empty theater near you? I cannot wait. I'm off to see that.
Oh yeah, we're everybody at Friday Night Tights is going to see Snow White. That is a fact.
Snow Brown and the 7 baristas from Seattle.
That is a fact. Oh, when is it? It's not coming out till like next year, though, right?
Next year, yeah. I think March.
And you know what's funny is like there's going to be so few movies, it's going to stand out like a fucking sore thumb.
Yes.
We are going to get Rings of Power season 2. The strikes had one fucking job and couldn't get them done, but thankfully it keeps our job around.
Well, in all fairness, probably didn't take that long to write.
Well, it didn't. The showrunners weren't there for the majority of the filming of the show.
I think I'm actually quite looking forward to season 2.
I am. Celeborn's back. It's like,
what?
I've been gone for 1,000 years. I'm back.
They thought you were dead.
I totally almost fucked our sworn enemy.
Yeah.
Typical woman.
I spent 1,000 years looking for Sauron, then I bumped into him in the middle of an ocean.
Fucking ocean. We almost banged.
Yeah. And I almost sucked his cock.
That's so Tolkienian, isn't it?
Oh, dude, that's exactly the kind of coincidence and contrivance that Tolkien's known for.
Oh, really known for.
Oh, hi, Sauron.
Oh, hi, Sauron. I did not hit
good doggy. Oh, hi, Sauron. Hi.
Classic Tolkien. You're right.
Classic Tolkien.
Oh,
I was just swimming in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and then she just comes across Sauron.
Wowsies.
And he looks like a barista from Portland.
And they spent $500 million on this dude. They're so fucking stupid.
They could have cured world poverty with that.
They could have. They could have fed a country in Africa.
They could have built a bridge from America to Africa where they could have driven food over.
I made a video 3 years ago as a joke, just based on everything I've seen with Star Wars and Star Trek, saying, you know, they're probably going to put Galadriel in full body armor, leading an army and slaying orcs as a fucking joke. And
an army of women. You said an army of women.
Wrong. But there's always season 2. Okay. I said an army of female Numenorians.
Yeah.
And it turns out I was half right on that. Cause like, well, half the female, there was the Numenorian army was half female until they went to the battle. And then it was all dudes for some reason.
Imagine, right? The Americans come into France on D-Day to liberate D-Day, liberate. You got Juno going on. You got the British and the Canadians over there, and you got the Americans doing some really heavy fucking lifting stuff over here. And the head of the U.S. forces goes in to a French village and defers to the woman who picks flowers there on the military command.
Yeah. He
That's
goes in
what
there and
happened
goes,
in Rings of Power.
I need the peasant who grows poppies. She needs to tell us how to do this fucking battle.
And then she went, are you going to fight with me? And 50% of them leave.
I know. They're like, fuck this bitch. She picks.
No, I mean, if the guy who actually understands military tactics spoke, maybe. You pick fucking flowers, you stupid tart.
It's unbelievable how bad that was. I mean, we're approaching a year since it's been released, and the only thing anybody ever talks about is how much it sucked.
Yes.
House of the Dragon's got a good reputation. People are actually looking forward to it. People were like, oh God, the one show I liked might get shut down by a strike. Oh, thank God it's not. You know, and listen, it could go off the rails in season 2. I forgot who I heard talking, but the difference with House of the Dragon is you had the writer there. Like George was not writing Winds of Winter and was working on House of the Dragon, which did make it better. I wish he'd write Winds of Winter. It's been 12 years. I don't know. Like I maybe I've been a little impatient. It's been 12 years.
It's been 12 years and 15 days.
You know,
since you released.
Tolkien has released more books dead. George has released a Song of Ice and Fire books.
And will likely continue to do so, is the sad thing.
Yes.
Pac-Man 76 with a $10 says, what about the production? Oh, no, we had that one. We're up against, we're already done. We've got to just do, I've got to do a few more, and then it looks like there's going to be a big super chat square.
I'll shut up.
I got to go to the game. M8566 with $10 says, Hell Real BC, what are your thoughts on Medieval Spawn? And do you think we'll ever get a movie, maybe an animated miniseries? I have none.
Excellent action figure.
There you go. Mikey Gusler with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 supers at 10, 15, 20, 25, $30. Remember when people criticized the DC EU for introducing characters too early? Well, Superman Legacy will have Superman, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Crypto, and more. This would be the Mummy 2017. Well, if you just heard us in the chat, Michael, I was not happy with that in the slightest. People have been asking why James Gunn chose Guy Gardner over Hal Jordan. Well, I have an answer from Gunn himself. He said, because I like him more. Well, this is all the James Gunn fan fic, this DCU.
I like Guy Gardner too. I do. You don't introduce him in a Superman movie. I like Nathan Fillion. You don't introduce him in a Superman movie. I'm with you, Mikey. Right. I'm 100% with you on this one. It's hypocritical to criticize what Snyder did and then just do the same thing. I mean, what are these going to be, all like post-credit scene cameos?
Well, when I heard that when I heard that Nathan Fillion was going to be Green Lantern, I was like, that's a really good casting for Hal Jordan.
Yes.
And then he said, oh no, he's Guy Gardner. And I went, oh,
fuck. I know. Who would make a good Guy Gardner?
It's gotta be kind of somebody who's sort of unlikable, really.
But likable. It's got to be
likable, but unlikable. I mean, how many? There's no red-headed males anymore. He's got to be a little bit.
John Cena would
John Cena wouldn't be a bad choice.
Wouldn't be a bad choice. Bill Burr,
but he's Peacemaker. Mark Wahlberg wouldn't be terrible. Kanye, yes. Ed Sheeran, there you go. Mikey Gusler, people think it was Snyder's choice to do BVS after Man of Steel, but he actually wanted to do Man of Steel 2 with a Bruce Wayne cameo, then Warner Brothers stepped in. I don't know how true this is, but I heard that the budget for Superman Legacy won't be anywhere below 300 million. If true, think it'll make money. That's just a silly rumor at the moment.
I can't see that happening because they spent that much on Flash and they just don't have it.
Yeah. WB should just lend the Snyderverse to Netflix, then both parties will make money. Honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't. I think The Flash is a prime example of the majority of people are just done with that side now, and they want it over.
I think superheroes kind of done because Hollywood is fatigued. Hollywood is tired of them. Hollywood doesn't even like it. Took James Gunn, and I still believe he's the wrong guy. If I'm proven wrong, I will gladly admit I was wrong. But they don't. Hollywood doesn't believe in the ideals of Superman.
No.
It's antithetical.
But they do believe in the ideals of cuties.
Exactly. Hollywood's there. People are still out there saying the sound of, like lying about the Sound of Freedom, which is essentially, it's not even an independent film. It's a film that was made by Fox that was picked up, and it's still making.
Sure. I think it's just easier for people to understand because 14 million is such a low budget. Yeah, it's made by Fox. Then it got bought out by Disney. Then they left it on the shelf. Then they optioned it off. So it's now in an independent capacity.
Yeah.
So I think it's just easier for people to understand instead of going through the rigmarole of explaining how the process it actually went through.
When things get too, Mark talked about this earlier. This is why, I'm a capitalist, but I'm not like super corporate. I've never been about corporatism. I like privately owned entities that can, when you're a small business, when I own my comic shop, I could break even and not hit the panic button. One year, when 2008 happened, I broke even, which means technically I didn't make any money, but I was able to pay my employees and pay some bills. Sure, I had to go out and find another job, but that's what I did so I could feed kids and myself and pay bills. And companies can't do that. They can't contract. Like after that, I went down to one employee as opposed to having three, and we were fine. And it sucked, but they were part-time. They weren't like relying on me for paying the rent or anything. But you can pivot. And then you could bring employees back like I did too. When things got better, they lay off mass people, but they never lay off the executive staff, the middle management, and they never bring budgets. So specifically about Hollywood, what they should do is make movie tickets need to be cheaper. They need to be cheaper, which they won't do. Movie budgets need to be cheaper, which they won't do because they've expanded too much. Like Beyond, they're bursting right now, and that's why they're falling apart. One of the things with comic books, they needed to be on everybody's like, I was always a big proponent of pulp. Bring it back to pulp, put it back on pulp. It's cheaper. Make comic books.
Do you want to see cheap? I'll show you cheap.
But and then if you want to do,
I'll show you cheap.
If you want to do like a prestige edition that costs more, that's fine too. But like make a reader copy,
Sure. Yeah. No, Gary, you haven't seen the half of it yet. Are you ready?
Well, that one looks better than the last one.
No, that's the one that's been got rid of. This is what she starts with. The other one is what she ends up in.
Triple. Did this just come out today? Did this come out today? It's a triple threat. It's a shit.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking die.
This will bring women to the theater. This will bring the girls in. They can all see themselves in these frumpy superhero costumes that look like they were made by your blind grandma.
Sorry, are you trying to throw a punch? What is that? What even is that? What is this?
You're getting fisted. That's
what is what is that?
There ain't no men. Marvel got what they want. I mean, this is as close to A-Force as we're ever going to get. This is...
That wouldn't punch a hole in a wet fucking play paper bag, for fuck's sake.
We have achieved peak MCU, ladies and gentlemen. This is the MCU season finale. Movie's been delayed 5 times. Can't imagine why.
Okay, I want to take my guess from 85 million to $85.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about 60 million opening weekend. That might be a little high. Might be a little high. 11 out of 10 MCU. MCU, baby.
You got 11 out of 10 MCUs.
They should just call this MCU. That's what they should call it.
What do you even fucking do?
So we have 3 women in frumpy costumes with vaguely energetic powers.
With glow sticks.
That are omnipotent, and it's going to be like Freaky Friday, right? Don't they all switch into each other's bodies or some shit?
I might be able to buy a house next week.
There's going to be a boyfriend that sings all his lines.
Triple threat. It's a triple threat to fucking Disney's bottom line.
Oh, poor movie theaters. Pack it up. Pack it up. Home. They're striking because the people who wrote this film and acted in the
striking
film
better than fucking Miss Marvel is in that picture.
Think they deserve more money. Who wrote this? Who wrote the Marvels? I need to know.
Is it Christina Hodson?
Directed by Nia DaCosta.
Oh, the legendary director.
The legendary director who has directed, let's see, what has she directed?
Nothing. Isn't it 2 documentaries that were done last 10 years ago?
She did a screenplay for Candyman, the remake. Ghost Tape, which was 8 episodes. Little Woods. Celeste, a short. Like, she's okay. Aside from her 2 fucking school shorts from 2014, she has done 3 things, and it's all as a writer. She has never directed anything.
Right. Let's do a couple more. Get out of here before I die. Doc32 gifted 5 memberships to the stream. Devil Duke 95 gifted 10 memberships to the stream. Thank you so much indeed, guys. No Zaku Boy with a $50 says, who sees it's the hearts of men and the undergarments of women? Beeping Tom. Winter in July to stop an avalanche of addiction and plow the streets of crime. Tom must draw the line with the red-nosed princess of power, Snowblow, and her 7 8-balls. Got him.
Got him.
What else we got? We got Bashy Washy with a $50 says, Mark, thank you for loving your craft, standing your ground when it comes to respecting the fans. Please know that this fandom will support you. Thank you for being a sane person in a time where being sane and normal is a bad thing. I'll amen to that. Sheepsidian with a $50 as well says, who? I have too many words to say in one super, so I'll just see the 3 of you in Wisconsin. No one's coming to kidnap you and Mola or anything. Just don't panic if a few random gentlemen get a little aggressive. Oh my God!
November.
Right, folks. The rest, if you haven't had your super chat read out, I will do on Super Chat Square Up Sunday, 2 p.m. probably UK time, afternoon tea with Az. We'll go through it all then. Gary, anything you'd like to plug before we go, sir?
Oh, God. I'm in San Diego going to Comic-Con. I'll be at a booth, be at Gabe Al-Taib's booth on Thursday, 5:30 to 6:30. I'll also be attending a panel before that at the Marriott. You can find it in the schedule. It's Chris Gore's independent film panel with Eric July. I'll be there supporting my friends. So that's Thursday as well. And then we'll be a bunch of knuckleheads running around Comic-Con all weekend. So come by and say hi if you see us. Friday Night Tights with Chris Gore on Friday, live from San Diego. And I'm going to try to do a video. What on? Not really sure right now. It's coming together.
Who knows?
I'm in my comfy chair. Yes, I'm in my comfy chair. It's hard not to do that because it can, and it's so comfortable.
Nice. I'm glad you're comforted.
I am comforted.
Huge thank you to Mark Millar for popping on today. Great conversation. Great chat with him. Seems like a real stand-up kind of a guy. Massive thank you to everyone who came to watch today. Mods, thank you for giving up your time. Really appreciate that. Everyone who super chatted, membered, gifted members, remembered. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time, we'll do the super chat square up on Afternoon Tea with ads. I can give you the credit that you deserve for your super. Till next time, you take care. Bye for now.
Ciao.